prevent or treat cancers, we must understand what causes cancer. Actually, cancer is not a disease. The cause or the disease is somewhere else in the body, and cancer is just a growth that presents in a disturbed or disorganized, unhealthy body. So we shouldn't focus on cancer, we should focus on what causes the cancer. So if you look at it, the chart there are lots of pointers here. Some of it can be very familiar for even non-doctors. Some of it may sound new, like oxidative stress. This is what we call as free radical damage. The rest of it is quite simple for most of us. Drugs, your body can be very toxic or acidic, and a lot of environmental toxins, smoking, alcohol, stress and sleep problems, nutritional deficiencies, poor diet, weakened immunity, lifestyle, sedentary lifestyle. All this is very clear. Some of these terms may not be very clear for non-doctors. Like, for example, chronic inflammation means if you have bad bacteria in your gut, or if you have some heavy metal poisoning, you can have this silent inflammation. You won't feel pain or swelling, but it causes a lot of issues. So there are many causes, but what I would like to emphasize is the poor diet, which I'll talk about. Many or most of us, if not all of us, are nutritionally deficient because the food we eat is grown in a soil that is full of pesticides. We don't get enough vitamins and minerals from them. So the deficiency is very gross, and hormone deficiencies as well. But as far as genetics are concerned, my point is this. We all of us are born with good genes, and we all have some bad genes. Genetics is like a loaded gun. So gunல நிறைய bullets இருக்கும். அந்த ட்ரிகரை வந்து புல் பண்ணலன்னா அந்த புல்லட் இருக்கிற கன் இருக்கிறது அப்படியே தான் இருக்கும் சைலண்டா. ஸோ இந்த ட்ரிகரை புல் பண்றதுதான் பிரச்சனை. ஸோ இன் ஜெனட்டிக்ஸை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் இட்ஸ் அ லோடட் கன். What pulls the trigger is the environment. So as long as you keep the cell environment in terms of diet, less stress and sleep adequate, you optimize vitamins, minerals, hormones, இதெல்லாம் நம்ம சரியா செஞ்சோம்னா, then the trigger will not be pulled. So there is no harm from the gun. It will remain silent. This is the point, current opinion on genetics. So we don't pay a lot of attention to genetics, but we pay attention to diet and lifestyle and the rest of the factors. So another way of looking at cancer is, these are very important points. Now, cancer only eats or consumes sugar or glucose. This is a very, very important point. So one of the main reasons for rise in cancer is because of increase in the carbohydrate consumption. And by carbohydrates, this is how I approach carbohydrate. This is how I explain to my patients. You divide the carbs that we can take and throw the carbs that is not good for us. If I say throw, you can still enjoy once in a way. Now, this is including children and the newborn. But unfortunately, sugar is introduced at birth itself. Like, for example, formula milk is added with sugar so that what you call the addiction is there. So that's why children who have started drinking milk, I don't know what, in India, I'm not sure what type of milk, but here formula milk are all enriched with sugar. And then they go on to drink this Horlicks and many other drinks, all dairy products with a lot of sugar. So we are introducing sugar at birth itself because breastfeeding is declining. The fact is, cancer can only consume glucose, mostly. At once cancer, they start using protein. That's why they lose weight. So the way to control cancer is to control carbohydrates. So we will go into the details of the types of carbohydrates we can eat and the types that is actually causing a lot of problems for us. The second point about cancer is it can only grow if your body is acidic. And cancer itself creates more acidity. Because cancer does not actually burn sugar for energy. It actually converts into acid, lactic acid. That's how it obtains its energy. So if you want to prevent cancer or treat cancer, then the most important thing is you should alkalize your body. How do you alkalize the body? It's vegetables. A lot of vegetables with each meal and drinking raw organic vegetable juice. Of course, lemon juice is good. I advise my patients who have certain issues to drink organic or food grade baking soda. All this will alkalize the body. But if you look at the diet now, the acidic portion is the majority. Rice and sugar, chicken, meat, all these are acidic. So this becomes the bulk of our diet, and most of us, we have acidic body. It's a perfect condition for cancer cells to grow and fungus to grow, okay? And cancer only grows in hypoxic conditions. That means the environment must be hypoxic for cancer to grow and take root. Once it started to grow, cancer itself will create more low oxygen status around it. So if you enrich yourself with oxygen by doing slow deep breathing, pranayama, or you live in an area where there is so much of oxygen in the air, those are the situations where it will help to prevent cancer, or once cancer is grown, it will help a lot. So you shouldn't have low oxygen in your body. Then it comes to your immune system. If you have a strong immune system, the moment cancer cells multiply, they will be wiped off. Now, this is the same principle that we should apply to current COVID. The COVID is because of human immune system. It is weakened because we are deficient. If anybody asks questions about this, I'll share my opinion. So if you have a strong immune system, the moment it recognizes a cancer cell, then you have your innate defense mechanism, which acts first, and then it will work with your adaptive immune system. They work as a family, and there are many, many mechanisms by which they address a virus or a bacteria or cancer. So a weakened immune system enhances, or it initiates and enhances cancer. So one of the main reasons for weak immune system is excess carbohydrates. And the reason is this. This is a very important point. Whenever we eat carbs, when we say carbs, it means they become glucose or sugar in the body. Whenever there is sugar, the body will respond by producing the hormone called insulin. As long as you keep the insulin in healthy levels, within healthy levels, then you're fine. If you have excess insulin, then everything breaks loose. This is the term I use. It causes A to Z disease. So high insulin actually precedes onset of diabetes. But mostly it is not checked. We only check the sugar. But high insulin comes first, and then only high blood sugar will come. But once your insulin is high, your immune system is weak. So if you eat a meal with a lot of rice or sugar or carbohydrates, for the next 6 to 8 hours, your immune system is going to be weak. So how are you going to defend yourself against cancer cells multiplying and viruses and bacteria and fungus? So the problem, one of the main problem is a lot of carbs in your diet. Second problem why your immune system is weak is we are deficient in vitamins and minerals. Now let me address, I can't go into details of everything. We can always revisit. Now, one of the main reasons, this is also extremely important for all of us to understand, and some of us will be able to take this up with the policy makers in your individual countries to challenge, and I wish it happens. Now, ask yourself, why do animals not get COVID? Dogs, cats, cows, goats, they may harbor, but they do not suffer. There is no COVID, no dengue, no tuberculosis, no SARS and Zika and malaria and whatnot. And they don't have cancer. Only humans get this. This is the truth that must be spoken by everyone, especially the World Health Organization, especially the governments and policymakers. Why is this not spoken about? Though WHO is very well aware of this. The reason why we get cancer or COVID for now, for that instance, is because human body cannot make vitamin C. Very simple. Only animals can make. So where do you get your vitamin C from? It must be from fresh fruits, especially fresh fruits. But then now the fruits that we buy, they do not ripe on the tree. We use various methods to ripen them for better business. So it's all about cents and dollars. So the vitamin content in fruits that have been stocked up, especially if you eat imported fruits, is very, very low. And the amount of vitamin C that is recommended, like 100 milligrams, is enough only to correct severe deficiencies like scurvy. It is not sufficient for good health. It's a huge difference between correcting deficiencies to avoid disease and living healthily. And the second vitamin is vitamin D, the sunshine vitamin. Most of us are deficient. Malaysia is a country with so much of sun, just like India. But in the about 3,000 patients I've tested, I hardly see anybody who is optimum. When I say about health, I always talk about optimum health. And there is also another very, very vital molecule in our body called glutathione. It is made in our body, but we don't make enough to meet the demands. Now, glutathione is the master immune booster, master detoxifier, and master antioxidant. So we are all deficient in this. And minerals, especially magnesium and zinc. If you are deficient, your immune system will be weak. And so all these minerals are deficient because the soil is, we grow the vegetables and fruits on the same soils and with lots of pesticides. Once you spray pesticides, the pesticides in the soil will withhold the minerals from the plants. So the plants will not be able to absorb. So this is actually a very vicious cycle. So the plants become deficient, we become deficient, and we eat the wrong food. So deficiency is very common. Another important point is deficiencies or excesses in hormone. One hormone that causes cancer when it is excess is insulin, which I mentioned. The other hormone that causes cancer, especially in women, is estrogen. This is a female hormone, and we all get too much. Even men have a lot. And this is the reason why boys all have big boobs or gynecomastia nowadays. And girls get very early menses by the age of 9 to 10. So the reason for excess in estrogen is if you eat not the organically farmed chicken or meat, they have a lot of estrogen. Dairy products can have a lot of estrogen, deep fried food, plastics, chemicals, pesticides, excessive alcohol, excessive coffee contribute to excess estrogen, which can cause breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and uterine cancer, and possibly also prostate cancer in men. Deficiencies of hormones can also cause cancers, especially thyroid hormone. So this hormone deficiency, from my patients that I test, majority are deficient, especially women. So it's very easy to recognize. They have cold hands and cold feet, they gain weight easily, very tired, laziness is very common, memory loss, diffuse hair loss, dry skin, and the list is very, very long. So these are the deficiencies, and you need doctors who are trained in this to test. But of course, there can be a lot of environmental toxins and chemicals. Not everybody can do much about it, but then if you buy vegetables or fruits, one way is to wash it in salt water. You can also squeeze some lemon in it, but I would advise you can wash them in baking soda. Buy organic or food grade baking soda from the organic shops. Add a teaspoon in warm or hot water. And you can soak the vegetables for a few minutes, fruits for a few minutes, and wash them. At least some amount of the chemicals will be removed, pesticides. Another important point is, this is mostly unrecognized. Cancer often exists with candida, which is a fungus. So this fungus is not bacteria, it is not like virus. So it grows just like cancer, it eats only glucose, it only grows in an acidic body. And candida grows once we have taken antibiotics. So if you use antibiotics for every conditions, including common cold and flu, of course, including children are going to grow with candida. So candida, there are two types which I'll describe, but this itself is a long lecture. I will tell you how to pick up candida, whether it causes கொடலு வயிறு சம்பந்தப்பட்டது GIT problems or whether it can cause problems outside. So இது கொடல்லையும் disturb பண்ணலாம், outside கொடல்லையும் disturb பண்ணலாம். Then the electromagnetic field, of course, is a huge problem now, especially with the coming 5G. I can tell you that the cancer risk will increase because this is damaging. It's a cellular damage. The blue light, of course, is from handphones and computers, especially if we use it at night. Please let your children know this. Once you look at your phones or computers, the blue light, once it touches your retina, two things happen. There are many things that will happen, including, I think, cellular heating. But two things will happen is, one is it disturbs your sleep hormone called melatonin. So it will cause sleep disturbances. So the second one is it will suppress another hormone that you secrete in the morning for mood, energy, and happiness. It's called cortisol. And so what happens is your body, the circadian rhythm, that means நம்ம உடம்புல இருக்கிற internal clock, பகல ராத்திரியா படிக்கும், ராத்திரியா பகலா படிக்கும். So எந்த நேரத்துல எது செய்யணுமோ அது செய்யாது. So ராத்திரில வேலையை பகல்ல செய்யும், பகல் வேலையை ராத்திரில செய்யும். So நைட்ல வந்து melatonin produce பண்ணலன்னா you will have sleep problems. And daytime, if you don't produce enough cortisol, then you feel tired, you feel moody, very sensitive, restless, irritable. And the problem is they always like to eat carbs. Low cortisol people love carbs. So இதெல்லாம் தடுக்கணும்னா ராத்திரில இந்த ஹேண்ட்ஃபோன் கம்ப்யூட்டர்லாம் குறைச்சிக்கணும், எஸ்பெஷலி children. Because children இப்போ வந்து மனிதர்கள் பேசுறது குறைவு. They only talk to their phones and computers. So இதெல்லாம் தவிர்க்கலாம் நம்ம. So just look at the word mitochondria. Now, for those who are interested, I gave a lecture on mitochondrial dysfunction and disease. Even those who are not doctors can request, but I want you to send your request with your email address and, of course, your WhatsApp. So I can send you the recordings of this lecture. Now, mitochondria, you know, if you remember what you studied in school, cell எடுத்து பார்த்தோம்னா உள்ளுக்கு பல structure இருக்கும். அதுல bigger structure வந்து mitochondria படிச்சிருப்போம். And then we know mitochondria is the energy source that actually generates ATP. இதுதான் நாங்க வந்து ஆரம்பத்துல ஸ்கூல்ல படிச்சிருப்போம், மெடிக்கல் ஸ்கூல்லயும் தான் படிச்சோம். But then now what we know, mitochondria actually acts as a center of signaling antenna. So it sends out a lot of signals how other cells should function. And mitochondria is not only just ATP. So there are numerous other functions it controls. So cancer பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் இதுதான் முக்கியம். So whether your mitochondria remains healthy or it gets sick, okay? Now we know that the origin of cancer starts from the mitochondria. Once the mitochondria வந்து சரியா வேலை செய்யலனா, then the energy will be produced within the cytoplasm, not in the mitochondria. So that cytoplasm energy use பண்ணோம்னா, it becomes fermentation of sugar. So it's not, in medical terms, we call it oxidative phosphorylation. So fermentation, a lot of lactic acid will be produced and the body will become acidic, as I mentioned before. But basically, to keep it simple for everybody to understand, so if I say mitochondria is very important, it should not get damaged. What damages mitochondria? Of course, there are deficiencies which affects mitochondria, especially magnesium. Now, magnesium should be available from green vegetables, and some nuts. But unfortunately, vegetables look green, not because of magnesium, because of they add only potassium. So they get NPK, sodium, potassium, and another mineral. But the rest of it is not added and the soil is deficient. So almost all of us are deficient in magnesium. One of the main reasons for hypertension, heart problems, starting point is actually muscular cramps. So there are many symptoms. So that is one symptom, one of the deficiencies. But the main point here is mitochondria gets damaged because it is the center where your food is processed for energy. If fats are burned for energy, it is a clean burning without smoke. When carbohydrates are burned for energy, there is a lot of smoke. In medical term, we call them as free radicals. And this is why we use antioxidants, because they clean up the free radicals. So the more carbs you eat, the more free radicals you then generate. And the more free radicals means more mitochondrial damage. And mitochondrial damage, once it happens, it's the source origin of cancer as well as many other diseases. So how do you go back to very simple way, which is within your control to keep your mitochondria healthy, even as you age, is to start eating a low carb diet. I'll give you some idea about low carb diet. So this is very important because if you eat a lot of carbs, I mentioned to you that your immune system will be weak, your insulin is going to be high, your mitochondria is going to be damaged. So I mentioned this, they only use glucose. So you got to choose the type of glucose, carbohydrate, and depends on how much you want to eat and when to eat carbs. Okay. Now the type of carbohydrates we classify this way, okay, easy for understanding. The carbohydrates that's in the vegetables is complex carbohydrates that is good for any one of us. Okay. Now the carbohydrates from rice, that is of course you use it to make idli, dosa, and the carbohydrates that are seen in sweet potato, I don't recommend white potatoes. Carbohydrates that are seen in India, I mean Tamil Nadu, you will have kollu, kambu. Those carbohydrates, they are okay. But the carbohydrates that are from sugar and gluten are poisonous. You see, India was a very healthy country. Of course, at one time, it was so rich, not only spiritually, so we call it Punya Bhumi. It was so rich in spirituality, but it was also rich in everything else that material wealth mankind wants. But now the introduction of Western food, gluten, that means the pasta, pizza, biscuits, and cakes, and all this, and sugar, in my opinion, they are poisons. I use this, this is how I explain to my patients. You see, in my country, Malaysia, we have these native people. They have no access to sugar, gluten, and dairy products, and they don't have disease. They do not even deliver an abnormal baby. So there is no autism, no dyslexia, all these problems are not there. Why? Because they eat the other types of carbs. They have rice, they have potatoes, sweet potatoes, and the rest of it. But no gluten, no sugar. Now, I always tell my patients, if you want to live healthy and longer, including the children, these are the poisons. Gluten, including oats, and including cereals. Please read about gluten and the damage it can cause. Sugar, dairy products. And I'm not sure about India because if you get fresh milk from A2 cows, because the cows, Tamil Nadu மாட்டை பார்த்தீங்களா, அதுங்களுக்கு எல்லாம் ஒரு ஹம்ப் இருக்கும். இதுதான் நல்ல பால். இது வந்து called A2 milk. இது அந்த காலத்துல இதான். இப்ப எல்லாம் வந்து நியூசிலாந்து இதை மாடெல்லாம் கொண்டு விட்டு கலப்படம் பண்ணி கிராஸ் பிரீட் பண்ணி அதுங்களோட முதுகு பார்த்தீங்களா ஃபிளாட்டா இருக்கும். This is called A1 milk, which is not good for us. But also if the cows are not given hormones to produce more milk. So most of the time, if you look at how cows are bred for milk is this, you can milk them 24 hours, 365 days until they are slaughtered. Where on earth nature created such cows? அது கண்ணுக்குட்டி புல்லு சாப்பிட்ற வரைக்கும் பால் கொடுக்கும், அதுக்கப்புறம் ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்காக காஞ்சி போயிடும். ஆனால் இப்போ நம்ம பண்ணுற மாடர்ன் way of farming them, we can make them produce milk every day, 365 days, 24 hours, until they get even infection in their breast, mastitis. So these are carbs that we should avoid. But how much of the carbs you can consume, the type of carbs like rice, idli, dosa, kombu, kuli is very simple. No need to even measure how much you eat in terms of lunch. You look at your plate, 60% must be carbohydrates. The 20 to 30% must be proteins and good fats. Proteins means you can have eggs, you can have fish for non-vegetarian, you can have nuts. Of course, there are carbs, but lots of proteins, almonds, walnut, hazelnut, Brazil nut. You can actually have avocado if it is available and affordable. You can, I know these beans and peas like pasiperu, paruppu, ulundu, sudeshi kachang, konda kadala, idella only they are carbs, but they also have proteins. So I add them to the protein group. And when I say good fats, what is good fat is I advise my patients to use coconut oil. I don't recommend olive oil anymore because we don't seem to get good qualities in these countries. But in India, you can get coconut oil. You can also get nallanna and kadalanna, but sekku enna irukum. So the slow grinding with not the modern way of extracting milk because that eats the oil. So you use this oil for cooking, but especially ghee, good ghee and coconut oil, you have to add to your meal. That means add it to your vegetables or proteins or even your rice. Why is it important? Number one, it makes you feel full, the satiety. கொஞ்சம் சாப்பிட்டாலும் full இருக்கிற மாதிரி இருக்கும். ரெண்டாவது, like coconut oil is very good for health. It is nothing to do with bad cholesterol. This has been the wrong teaching so that they can sell their soy oil. So soy oil, canned oil and sunflower oil, all that is not what we should use. So use for cooking, add some fats, good fats to the food that you eat. Now, when do you eat carbs? The worst time to eat carbs would be for dinner, because the worst time to have too much insulin in your body is over the night, because insulin is a fat depositing hormone, besides all the problems that I mentioned. So it's good to have the vegetables and proteins with oils without carbs if you can for dinner. Now, about food, I can give you a little bit more guideline. What I do is I teach my patients not to make changes immediately. I tell them to reduce their carbs slowly so that the 60%, 30% that leaves the carbohydrates only to 10 to 15%, maximum 20%. This is carbohydrates. The type of carbohydrates I mentioned, what you can eat is this much. But you don't have to eat carbs 3 times a day. So you make slow changes. Then you choose a time when you can be happy with about 10 to 15% of carbohydrates only. Either நீங்க செய்ய ஆரம்பிச்சனையும் ஒரு நாளைக்கு ஒரு வேளை carbohydrates இல்லாம சாப்பிட பழகிக்கங்க. So you can have your vegetables, you can have your proteins with good fats, no carbs. When you can adapt to these, then you may want to eat 2 meals without carbs and carbs only for 1 meal. So this is the third step. And there is another step. Once you are comfortable with this, you do intermittent fasting, which means you have your breakfast at about 10 a.m. and finish your dinner by about 6 p.m. Why? Because after 6 p.m. you can still drink water, lemon juice, herbal tea, green tea, black coffee, it's okay, until next morning. So slowly start eating your dinner early and start eating your breakfast later. So the 16 hours, 10 to 6 is 8 hours you eat, and the 16 hours when you do not eat, a lot of your cancer cells will also be wiped out from your body because your immune system will proliferate when you rest your body for 16 hours. But most of us eat too long in around the day. So and we eat too much carbs. Shorten the number of hours you eat and choose the type of carbs and choose how much you eat. This is the secret to health and longevity, whether you talk about disease, any other disease or cancer. I hope this is clear. The rest of it should be simple. So if you want to make your body alkaline, you should have vegetables, raw vegetable juices, lemon juice, and you may have some ideas of your own. So what I do is this for breakfast. I have organic vegetable juice. That's all I have. So I have this powder form, certified raw organic freeze dried in powder form. So this has got about 30 types of vegetables. But I still add more kale, organic kale as powder, wheatgrass, barley grass as well. You can have murunga powder, murungaka powder. A lot of people take that. You can also have all this in your vegetable juice. And another way of alkalizing your body is very, very cheap. Poor man's diet is niragaram. You know, actually, the villagers, the farmers, they have abundant energy just by eating niragaram because it's very, very alkalizing your body, and you have a lot of probiotics. Very simple. The problem now is you are cooking rice with rice cooker. You should actually வடிகட்டி அந்த தண்ணி எடுத்து வச்சுக்கிட்டு கொஞ்சோண்டு ரைஸ் அதில் தண்ணியில் போட்டு ஓவர் நைட் வச்சிடணும், எஸ்பெஷலி in these mud pots, clay pots, overnight, and next day you have a little bit of rice. Don't take a lot of rice, but more water is okay. Add some salt. You can have it with some urga, vengayam, parsley, onions. This is also very, very alkalizing for your body. So my breakfast is vegetable juice with niragaram. And for lunch, I have vegetables, either steam or sometimes grill on upper put grill panittu. I will add some coconut oil, and I have it with பாசிப்பயிறு, சுதேசி கச்சான், கொண்டக்கடலை, just இதெல்லாம் தாளிக்கிறது. Or sometimes தட்டைப்பயிறு, red beans. You can also have quinoa. So all this is my lunch, and sometimes I have half-boiled eggs. So there are no carbs for breakfast and lunch. 6 o'clock I have my dinner. Very little rice, this much rice only. Lots of vegetables with anything else I want to eat. And after that I don't eat. You make your changes slowly. So this way you keep your body healthy, minimum food, but very healthy food. That's all your body wants. Your body doesn't want too much of food. And you keep your body alkaline. Hypoxic condition I've mentioned. So you do slow, deep breathing. The reason why yoga, one of the reasons why yoga is healthy is when you practice yoga, you slow down your breathing. The lesser the breathing rate, if you slow it down, you will live healthier because of course you need to breathe because you want oxygen, but the problem with oxygen is also it creates free radicals. So it has its plus and minus points. So slowing down breathing, you have less free radicals in your body. And this is one way why yoga is, one reason why yoga is also healthy. So you can do yoga breathing, pranayama. And the other one that is not practiced is grounding. Grounding means in the morning, your feet must touch the ground. Adipadam taraila padunu, not the shoes or sandals. அந்த தரை வந்து மண்ணா இருக்கலாம், இல்லைன்னா இன்னும் நல்லது வந்து புல்லு வந்து ஓவர் நைட்ல அந்த பனி இருக்கிற டைம்ல. ரெண்டாவது வந்து sun gazing is the morning sun. When you look at the morning sun, even if you don't look at it directly, as long as it touches your eyes. Now, I told you something about the effect of EMF and blue light that disturbs your circadian rhythm. So your sleep hormone, your energy hormone in the morning, cortisol, they all get disrupted. It will reset. So the grounding and sun gazing is what we practice those days as Surya Namaskaram. So whatever they told us thousands of years ago was not scientifically explained, but that was true science. I think there's a big difference between what we know as true science now with all the evidence that is not helping us anyway, with a lot of science that was practiced without much scientific explanation, but was practiced thousands of years ago, now is being recognized as the way forward for us. So I mentioned about high carb diet suppresses your immune system, sugar and insulin. Please remember this. Deficiencies in vitamins and minerals. I put up this just to emphasize again that almost all of us, I will find it difficult to say someone has optimum vitamins and minerals and hormones, especially as we age, but unfortunately, including children, unless you live in a very pristine world. I find it difficult to see a person who is optimal. Hormones பொறுத்த வரைக்கும், children are also nowadays very deficient in thyroid hormones. You can see a lot of children, they have cold hands and cold feet and they are frequently sick. Most of them are thyroid hormone deficient because their mother is deficient. And children nowadays, if you notice, they have flat feet. That's one of the reasons, one of the cause of hypothyroidism. They can have kyphosis, scoliosis, poor school performance. Girls have scanty menses, delayed menses, infertility, a lot of miscarriages, premature deliveries, and at birth, very little milk, poor lactation, தாய்ப்பால் சுரக்கலன்னு இருப்பாங்க. ரெண்டாவது மஞ்சக்காமலை, குழந்தைங்களுக்கு மஞ்சக்காமலை, neonatal jaundice, and the babies have difficulty in breathing because they have less thyroid hormone, so they have less energy, which is sometimes diagnosed as neonatal respiratory distress, RDS, and treated. And it goes on, the list is very long. So hormone deficiency, but you need someone to check your hormones and the interpretation has to be correct. But pay attention, why I'm saying this is, it is good to take some vital supplements for all of us, including our children. Now, my advice to my patients is this. Consider vitamins and minerals, including omega-3 fatty acids, as basic and as special. Basic means what all of us need, special depending on the condition. So for example, if someone has high blood pressure, the special would be magnesium, potassium. If someone has diabetes, the special would be zinc and chromium and maybe other minerals. So this is how a special is defined. But basic means is this: multivitamin, glutathione, omega-3 fatty acids. These three will become the basic. If someone is a vegetarian, if they don't want to take fish oil, then go for flaxseed oil. So in the multivitamin, we have vitamin C, D, and magnesium. But my advice to my patients would be, if you can afford it, take extra vitamin C, extra vitamin D, and extra magnesium, because they perform hundreds of functions in the body. Magnesium, for example, they perform about 700 to 800 enzymatic reactions. ஒரு சின்ன mineral 800 வேலை செய்யும். And we are almost all of us are deficient. So the same thing with D3, and you should get enough sun exposure, not over the clothes, not when you're sitting in the car. The sun must touch your skin, and you must not be taking cholesterol lowering drugs or statins, because once you take statins, you will decrease your vitamin D3 even further, because vitamin D3 is made from cholesterol in the skin. And the best time to make vitamin D would be around 10 to 12, which for us, most of us is hot, and most of us are in our offices. So almost all of us are deficient in vitamin D3, unless you measure your vitamin D, and the measurement you should measure for 25 hydroxy D, 25 hydroxy D. Then you will know from the lab reference range, but you should also read it in such a way that you should optimize. So taking extra would be useful. How much adults should take? It should be around 6,000 international units. When you are down with the cough or flu or the current COVID, you have to increase, and the same thing goes for cancer patients. You have to increase even up to 50,000 units per day for a week or two, then you go to your normal dose of 6,000. So vitamin C is the beauty. It's largely misunderstood. How much an adult should take? If you look at goats, for example, they make about 10 grams of vitamin C a day. It is very, very different from what RDA is telling you. So if you look at the native diet, assess the amount of vitamin C, it varies between 6 to 10 grams a day. So the adult dose, optimum dose would be 6 to 10 grams. I know it comes as shocking to most of you. This is the dose that can prevent a lot of illnesses. This is the standard dose that you take every day in a divided dose. You can take some breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But when you're sick, the moment you notice that you're coming down with a cough or flu, then you have to increase the vitamin C. The vitamin C rule is the more is better. There are no side effects. If anybody is telling you vitamin C causes kidney stones, they are telling lies. There is no proof. So the more is better. The rule of vitamin C, whether you're talking about cancer or COVID, is this. Rule number one, take the treatment soon enough. That means take a higher dose soon enough. As soon as you feel the symptoms, take the doses frequent enough. Every 2 to 3 hours, you must take at least 2 grams. Take the treatment for long enough, minimum 3 days or until you recover. So soon enough, high enough, frequent enough, and long enough. These are the 4 rules of vitamin C. If you do this, by evening, a common cold will be much better. You will improve so much that you won't believe it. I had a child who was brought to me. The child was only 7 months old. The parents brought, and of course, sometimes I ask them because I just want to be a little bit funny. So I asked them, I'm not a pediatrician, you're aware? They said, yes, doctor, we know, but we still want to see you. So the child had upper respiratory infection. Of course, they didn't want to go and check for COVID for fear of, this, they will be quarantined and all that. So I asked them, I told them there are many things I can do for adults. I can even run an intravenous vitamin C, but the only thing is that for a child, I can only use vitamin C. And the dose, please follow my advice. Will you be able to do that? So they said yes. So this was the treatment I gave. 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C, first dose. 500 milligrams of vitamin C every 2 to 3 hours. Cut down if you get diarrhea. If no diarrhea, continue or increase. And the next morning when we called, the parents were so happy. The child had no fever and the cough had reduced so much. So I didn't use antibiotics, no antihistamines, no cough syrups, no paracetamol, nothing. Only vitamin C. You can do this for COVID, you can do this for common flu, any allergies, viral infections, dengue. But sometimes when the infection is severe, you need intravenous vitamin C. இதுதான் உண்மை, இதுதான் உலகம் பேசணும். So you talk about vitamin C and D. In my opinion, all these very strict lockdowns and quarantines and disrupting lives and economy and people's businesses until there's so much of depression and suicides can be avoided largely because the truth is not spoken. So at some point in time, the sooner the better. Those who realize this, those who accept this, we must stand up for what is right. We must stand up for the ones who are ignorant, the ones who need to be taken care of. Actually, I wrote a couple of letters, one to Prime Minister Modi about vitamin C for COVID, so that millions can be saved, lives and economy can be saved. But of course, unfortunately, I think he's very busy. He didn't have time to read, or it didn't reach him. And I wrote a similar letter to the Malaysian Prime Minister. Of course, I didn't get any reply. We also sent a 132-page protocol, how to treat COVID with vitamin C, with all the evidences. And we, of course, didn't get any single reply. But the point is, if you believe in speaking the truth, you never give up, never give up. So it all takes some personal experience to endorse the truth. Most times, unfortunately, we doctors ourselves have to become patients for us to have this wake up call, the divine wake up call. கடவுள் சொல்லிக்கிட்டே இருக்காரு, நல்லதை செய்யு, நல்லதை செய்யு, நல்லதை செய்யுன்னு, தீங்கு விளைவிக்காதுன்னு. ஆனா நம்மளுக்கு சில சமயம் நம்மளுக்காக கஷ்டம் வரப்போதான் நம்மளுக்கு அது உண்மை புரியுது. Anyway, we don't give up. Yeah. So environmental toxins I've already mentioned. The biggest culprits are still the big US companies. They still sell Roundup in your country, I think. Now, this needs a little bit of mentioning. Now, Candida is largely not spoken about, not diagnosed. Let me tell you, in my practice for more than 20 years, this is what I do. Almost all patients who have gastritis, bloating, or reflux, I treat them for fungus. I don't treat them for H. pylori, and I do not treat them for too much of acid in the stomach, because too much of acid is so rare. In medical, we have a syndrome called Hollinger's I don't get the name right. Now, anyway, there's this condition is so rare that Zollinger-Ellison syndrome. Thank you very much. So it's so rare that you get small tumors, small growths secreting too much of acid. Otherwise, gastric patients almost always 99.9% would have low acidity. The redness that we see in the scope is because of Candida, and we do not check for Candida. Even if you do a culture, you won't pick it up unless you do special cultures for 1 to 2 weeks. So most of these patients will have Candida, and if you look at cancer patients, preceding symptoms, a lot of them would have gastric problems, gastritis, bloating, reflux. So this is fungus, it is not bacteria, worsened by antibiotics. And why they grow? Because of sugar and high carb diet, antibiotics, contraceptive pills, and stress, and weak immune system. So it is gut problem, and you can have non-gut symptoms. Eczema is the commonest symptom that it presents itself with. And the other one is, of course, you can have nail fungus. It can present in many ways, including carbohydrate cravings, migraine, insulin resistance, and diabetes, and hypertension. The list is as well is very long. But basically, it's a fungus that's very difficult to eradicate. If you recognize these symptoms, the treatment for fungus is very different, not with antibiotics. You need antifungal treatment. Once you do the treatment, kill the fungus, starve the fungus, which means you must eat a diet without carbs for 2 weeks at least, including fruits. Then you kill the fungus, starve the fungus, and improve the immune system with the supplements I mentioned to you, especially C, D, glutathione, and sometimes even zinc. Almost always, all this gastric and bloating and reflux will completely disappear. You will see similar improvements, including eczema. And almost all autoimmune conditions are coexisting with Candida and gluten-rich diet. So Candida exists in many conditions, largely unrecognized. I got sick, very sick at one point in time. And the reason why I'm here talking to you and sharing so much of these stories is because of my personal journey, because I was sick with Candida. Why? Because when I was a medical student, I started having sinusitis. So I had multiple surgeries and tons of antibiotics that gave me a systemic candidiasis and aspergillosis, made me very sick. So it is good to recognize. So the way I treat cancer is not blood cancer, but any solid cancer, solid tumors. What I do is first I give them a Candida treatment. So this is actually a no carbohydrate or keto diet. But sometimes not cancer patients, other patients, if they still want to eat a little bit of rice or kombu or food, I let them eat, but not much because I don't want too much sugar in the body. So stop the fungus, kill the fungus, improve the immune system. And this is one good way of helping cancer patients as well. But the idea is still prevention. Once you start eating sugar and a high carb diet, then you will have a lot of problems. You see a lot of people burping all the time. This is also partly because of, mostly because of candida. The other important points should be exercise, which is very important. Sleep early and sleep adequate. So you should have early and adequate good sleep. Around 10 p.m. would be good because you have your circadian rhythm, which I mentioned. Most of the repair and regeneration in your body happens between 12 midnight and 3 a.m. So sleeping late doesn't help. Stress, we have to manage stress most of the time. Most of us, our stress is not going to change, or is going to be there. But the way you handle stress is more important than the stress itself. And where else can you learn how to handle stress other than this Punya Bhumi, India, where you have been told to start the day with meditation, start the day with gratitude, start the day connecting to the divine. So this is what we should do. Now in that stress-free mode called meditation or mauna, you release a lot of happy chemicals, you improve your immune system, you reduce your subconscious stress. So stress management is very important, and be connected, have social connection. This is very good. You know, you go to Gramam, now city life has changed. You go to these villages, there's so much of social connection. This is also important, especially as we grow older, you have to re-establish your friendship. And be happy, be contented with what you have. There are millions who have less than you. Gratitude is very important. The more grateful you are for what you have, everything that you have seems to be much more valuable. When you don't have the sense of gratitude, then whatever you have seems to be less, and you keep wanting more. And there should always be some spiritual connection as well. We talked about this. So just to mention, just to remind you about carbohydrates, it becomes glucose, insulin leads to cancer. So choose the type, choose how much you want to eat, choose when to eat. And now this is, fasting is actually very important. Now, if you look at our culture, Hindu culture, we have so many days in a month where you are asked to fast. There's a difference between fasting, which is a vegetarian diet, and water fasting or intermittent fasting. Now, it's okay, it's good to be a vegetarian, but we still need proteins. But when people say, oh, I'm fasting, I'm on a vegetarian diet, but you look at the amount of carbohydrates they eat, it's shocking. ஜோக்கு கூட எடுத்துக்கலாம், நீங்க தவறா எடுத்துக்காதீங்க. அங்கெல்லாம் நான் வந்து பார்த்தேன்னா ஒரு மீலுக்கு சாப்பிட்ற ரைஸ் என்னால ஒரு மாசத்துக்கு சாப்பிடணும். So there's so much of rice with each meal, but we are not like, you know, those days. We are not farming. We are not நம்ம வயலுக்கு போயிட்டு வேலை செய்யறோமா, அதெல்லாம் ஒன்றும் இல்லையா. அந்த காலத்துல வந்து அவ்வளோ சாப்பிட்டாங்கன்னா வயல்ல வேலை செஞ்சாங்க. இப்போ நம்ம வந்து காடியில போறோம், ஏர்கான்ல உட்காந்துருக்கோம், லிஃப்ட் எடுக்கிறோம், ஸ்டேர்கேஸ் எடுக்கிறது இல்லை. ஸோ த அமௌண்ட் ஆஃப் காப்ஸ் யூ eat and refined carbs, maida, oats, breakfast cereals, sugar, all these are refined. So we are eating wrong food, too much carbs. So eating a vegetarian diet does not mean you are eating healthy. This is the reason why a lot of vegetarians have diabetes and hypertension and obesity, because of carbs. So if you want to eat fast, then one good way of fasting is do water fasting. That means you fast only with water for 12 to 24 hours. Then you have your normal meals, but ஒரு நாளைக்கு fast பண்ணனால மறுநாளுக்கு compensate பண்ணாங்க, eat too much of food. The other one is what I mentioned is intermittent fasting. That means you eat within a time frame. Say you ate for 8 hours and the 16 hours you can drink, but try not to actually slowly introduce the changes. Now, why this is important is when you do this fasting, you improve your detoxification, you reduce your amount of free radicals, and you save your mitochondria, the one I mentioned just now, and you have a boosting in your immune system. Actually, there's a immune cells called natural killer cells. After 14 hours, they all mushroom. So fasting should be a regular practice. Depends on what type of fasting you can do. So remember, fasting is absolutely important, especially as we age. So all this we have already mentioned. Now, finally, I would like to mention, as I always say, this is the philosophy. There are two ways we can make changes in the way health is created or destroyed. Number one, we can try, and this is what I've been doing, I can try and change the way doctors think of a disease. Because doctors, we should think ourselves as healers. இது தர்மம். ஒரு நோயை குணப்படுத்துறது தான் மெடிக்கல் தர்மம். So we should cure, we should prevent, and we should reverse. So அந்த மாதிரி நீங்க பார்க்கணும்னா ஒன்னு doctors must change. The other one is to create awareness among the public so that you can ask more questions and you can learn and you can take care of yourself. And when you see a doctor, you may want to choose a doctor who wants to treat the root cause, not the disease. So cancer is not a disease. It is a reflection or it is a symptom of a problem that is somewhere in your body. It can be one or more problems. For example, you don't make vitamin C. If you don't get it from food, that is a root cause. If you don't have enough vitamin D or magnesium, or if you are deficient in thyroid hormone, or if you have too much insulin or obesity, that is the cause of the problem. The problem cannot be just solved by a drug, especially in cancer. Chemotherapy brings very poor results. Almost all patients who have undergone chemotherapy will be telling you this. And yet it is still the main treatment, because the moment cancer is diagnosed, the fear is already in us, because when you see an oncologist, they'll tell you either you take the treatment or you die within 6 months. So you're already given a death sentence. Who will not be afraid? Who will not choose to take the drug treatment? But even if you want to take a chemotherapy, you still have to address the underlying cause. இதுதான் நம்ம பண்ற தவறு. ஒரு டிசீஸ் வந்து ஒரு conventional modern treatmentல ட்ரீட் பண்றதுன்னா யாருக்கும் நீங்க தடுக்க முடியாது. அது பேஷண்டோட சாய்ஸ். Some doctors will believe very strongly. But at the same time, if you understand what causes the disease, at least make an effort to fix the root cause. Without fixing the root cause, there can be no healing. There can be no prevention, there can be no healing of a disease. So diseases that we use the terminologies are not disease itself, it is just a presentation. This is a philosophy which is true, and this is what actually creates better health. Now the second one is, healing is possible, as I mentioned, only if we treat the root cause, and the root cause or causes can only be treated with natural molecules. So when we say natural molecules, we have a terminology called orthomolecular medicine. So ortho means same, similar. So the molecules must be the similar molecules as exist in your body. Drugs are not part of your body. They are not, the molecules are not part of your body. Whereas thyroid hormone is part of you, vitamin C, vitamin D, magnesium is part of you. So root causes must be treated, and they can only be addressed if we use natural healing. And my point here is that we all are, all of us are doctors, or most of us in this chat group are doctors. And we all should strive to be healers. So we should ask ourselves one question: have I reversed a disease? If I have not reversed disease, then it is probably time to ask myself this one question, whether I can actually heal. And healing is quite easy. For example, diabetes is one of the easiest conditions to be completely reversed. So is hypertension, so are autoimmune diseases, arthritis, eczemas, allergies, asthma, gastritis. The only time I have a difficulty in healing is when I see stage 4 cancer patients, stage 3, stage 4, and especially if these patients have undergone chemotherapy or radiotherapy, because then the healing mechanism is definitely damaged. And I cannot heal a patient if the patient is not cooperative. Otherwise, healing is very much possible. I give you one example. I saw one of my patients who I delivered two of her children, both the kids about, the last child is about 11 years old. So she came to me, this was about a month and a half ago, with multiple joint pain, polyarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, pain, swellings on the ankles and muscular pain, and she was, not able to even walk freely. So she had seen doctors and she was on prednisolone. She was on Arcoxia, which is a COX-2 inhibitor, and she was also on an immunosuppressant, but it actually didn't help her. So when she came to me, this exact philosophy is what I explained to her. Autoimmune diseases exist with fungus, so I treated her for fungus. Of course, it involved dietary changes, a lot of supplements to improve her immune system. I told her if she believes in this treatment, she can stop the drugs, especially prednisolone, because it suppresses the immune system, makes the fungus grow. So what I did was, she actually went on a very high dose of vitamin C. And even on the first day itself, she improved tremendously, because the amount of vitamin C that was used. So now she's so much better. And this is what I consider as healing. So we all have to get an experience of healing, and we all will be very happy physicians, and so will our patients be. So cancer is preventable, cancer is reversible. Try not to give too much of hope to cancer patients if they come to you in stage 3 or stage 4 after having undergone chemotherapy or radiotherapy. Then, of course, if things don't happen the way it should happen or the way it is expected to happen, then you will be disappointed and the patients will be disappointed. So as far as cancer is concerned, I tell them, I only show you the path. The journey is theirs. I can't walk the journey for any one of my patients. Cancer is tough to beat once it takes root, but we can do a lot to prevent, and especially if we catch them early, reversing is easy. Thank you very much. இப்போ எதுவும் கேள்வி இருந்தா கேளுங்க. Then I must stop share so I can see the video, I believe. Let me see.
Hello, sir. I have a question.
சொல்லுங்க.
My name is Ilango. I'm an organic farmer from Madurai.
Yes, சொல்லுங்க.
As a health stakeholder, as much as doctors are, we farmers are also a part of this environment saving thing. So I have some questions. Like, there's a difference in eating habits among hardworking people. Like hardworking people, they need a lot of food. Actually, means like the quantity they need to take for a 6 hour work. I mean, men work for 6 hours, women work for 4 hours in hot sun, and that is very strenuous kind of work. Do you suggest the same diet as much as you suggest for an urban office-going person? Or is it different? Because the content that we take, the quantity we take is different. The kind of foods like the greens, the wild berries and everything we consume is totally different. And I have one more question regarding the fungus. Is this fungus caused by milk?
sorry, the fungus is caused by milk.
Yeah.
Okay. And now coming to your first question, இது நம்ம எவ்வளவு கடுமையா உழைக்கிறோமோ அதுபடி சாப்பிடுறதுல ஒன்றும் தவறு இல்லைங்க. ஆனா அதே சமயம் சாப்பாடு வந்து முக்கியமா பாத்தீங்களா காய்கறிங்க நிறைய இருக்குங்க உங்க உடம்பு ஆல்கலைனா இருக்கும். அது it won't become acidic. So it's very important that you consume adequate amounts of vegetables. You also need proteins. But if you are the type who's burning your calories, eating more carbohydrates is fine. Eating more calories is fine, carbohydrates. But the thing about us is, supposing we say I'm not, I don't get myself worked up. I don't do a lot of physical activity, like farming, for example. So some people have the idea that if you don't eat carbs, that you won't have energy to work. That is not true, because you have liver storage. You have a lot of glycogen in your liver. So I can fast for a day and I can still do the same kind of exercise as I do it on a eating day. But for farmers and those who are strenuously working, as I mentioned, the diet that villagers eat when they do farming work is different. We cannot be eating the same kind of diet. So we have to be very careful in understanding this. Number two, milk, if there is no sugar, it does not cause fungus directly, but it can aggravate because milk is very acidic to the body. Fungus is mainly because of sugar and antibiotics. And sugar means excessive carbs as well.
Because why I'm asking this is because many of the autoimmune diseases have connection to milk. So I have a doubt. I mean, I'm not a researcher per se, so I have a doubt that is milk directly connected to autoimmune diseases? Is there anywhere the medium is the fungus? Through milk, the fungus gets aggravated, and through that, it is causing cancer. That's and other autoimmune diseases. Because we had a discussion earlier.
What I advise my patients is this. If you want to prevent, you want to reverse a disease, the first things to remove from your diet would be gluten, sugar, and dairy products. And the same rule applies for health and in treating disease. But as milk is concerned, I know it's acidic, but the direct connection between that and candida, I'm not sure. But autoimmune disease, I will treat candida first, the fungus.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Sir, hello. Hello,
Yes.
sir. This is Dr. Kumar. I am calling from Trichy. Sir, your talk was excellent. So I have some queries. This is regarding the proteins. What kind of proteins we can consume? Because essential amino acids, it's lagging in vegetarian source. So is it safe to consume animal protein?
All animal proteins are acidic. But in my opinion, if you want to be a vegetarian, fine, you can be a vegetarian. It's a good diet. I have no doubts about that. But there is something lacking in the vegetarian diet. That's what you mentioned, essential amino acids. So எப்படி நம்ம தாத்தா பாட்டி காலத்துல எல்லாம் ஆரோக்கியமா இருந்தாங்கன்னா because they knew what to combine to get the essential amino acids complete. They knew the pulses to mix and match and combine. இப்ப நம்ம அப்படி சாப்பிடுறது இல்ல. ஒரு நாளைக்கு பருப்புனா வெறும் பருப்பு சாப்பிடுறோம். பாஸ்பேர்னா வெறும் பாஸ்பேர் சாப்பிடுறோம். We do not have the knowledge to combine pulses or grains to get complete all the amino acids. So,
Yes.
So if you look at it, yes, we become deficient in essential amino acids. That is not good. So egg, as far as non-vegetarian food is concerned, egg is complete food. அதனாலதான் முட்டைய வந்து ஒரு சூடா வச்சிருந்தீங்களா 21 நாள் கழிச்சு ஒரு குஞ்சு பொரிச்சு வரும். அது நல்ல ஃபுட் இல்லைன்னா ஒரு உயிர் வராது அதுல இருந்து. அந்த உயிரை பாத்தீங்களா அதுக்கு மூளை இருக்கும், இருதயம் இருக்கும், லங்ஸ் இருக்கும், கிட்னி இருக்கும், வேற எல்லாமே இருக்கும். அது எப்படி உருவாகுது ஒரு நல்ல சாப்பாடு இல்லைன்னா. But this is acceptable for non-vegetarians. But lot of vegetarians also take eggs. So eggs is complete food. Yes. But when it comes to other non-vegetarian food, fish is okay. But fish எடுத்தாலும் இப்ப எல்லாம் heavy
mercury.
metals. Yeah,
mercury.
So அது ஒரு பிரச்சனை. Then if you want to eat chicken, then you have to go for organically farmed chicken. But they are acidic.
Yes,
The
sir.
point I'm making is to keep the body alkaline, the food must be alkalizing. So
Okay.
which means bulk of your food must be vegetables.
Yes.
So நீங்க என்ன பண்ணணும்னா ஃபுட்ட பிளேட்ல போட்டுட்டு முதல்ல சாப்பிடுங்க. நம்ம என்ன
Yes, sir.
பண்ணுவோம்னா சாதம் நிறைய ஒரு மவுண்டன் மாதிரி வச்சுக்கிட்டு அந்த சைட்ல ஒரு சாம்பிளுக்கு கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சம் வெஜிடபிள் வச்சுட்டு போவாங்க கடையில நீங்க பாத்தீங்களா? அந்த மாதிரி
Yes, sir.
சாப்பிட்டா எப்படி பாடி அல்கலைனா இருக்கும்? கண்டிப்பா அசிடிக்கா தானே இருக்கும்.
Kadipa, sir. Definitely, definitely.
சரிங்களா?
Thanks for your clarification, sir. Thanks, sir. Thanks.
எங்க நீங்க
Doctor,
கேட்டீங்களா? சொல்லுங்க.
now I have a problem.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, சொல்லுங்க.
Yeah, like I have the acid reflux or whatever you call it. Not exactly acid reflux. I have a heartburn very frequently.
That's reflux, acid reflux.
Yeah. So what I do normally, the doctors prescribe me some proton pump inhibitors, like
Okay.
omeprazole or pantoprazole and all. I feel comfortable.
சரி, ஒரே ஒரு கேள்வி கேக்குறேன் இல்லைங்க.
சொல்லுங்க.
இவ்வளவு நாள் நீங்க எடுத்திருக்கீங்களா இந்த மருந்து? உங்களுக்கு இந்த பிரச்சனை குறைஞ்சிருக்கா?
இல்ல, அது சாப்பிடுற வரைக்கும் சரியா இருக்கு.
அது சாப்பிட்டு முடிஞ்ச பிறகு
for a few days I'm all right.
Then it comes back.
Then if I take a little extra food or little spicy food, then I have a problem again.
Okay.
So although at nights I eat less, the problem comes only in the night, never in the daytime.
No, that's because நீங்க படுத்திருக்கிறப்ப because you are flat.
Yeah.
The acid comes up.
In fact, once it became so acute, I got what they call Raynaud's syndrome. My vocal cord became inflamed. So even my voice changed. Yeah. So you said maybe acidity is mostly due to fungus. How do you detect that? Is there any test for that?
You don't have to do, actually, if you want to, then you can always do some urine metabolites test. That's very, very expensive. You won't be able to do it in India. It has to go to countries like US. You don't have to do. Now, Candida, in my humble opinion, is this. It's a clinical based diagnosis is sufficient. If you have the symptoms, then this is how you should treat. If you are willing to go off sugar, including fruits, and no gluten, maida, oats la irukudadu. Dairy products.
Very rarely. I use wheat, whole wheat.
1 month if you avoid, go and get yourself some probiotics.
That I'm taking,
Okay. நான் சொன்ன மாதிரி நீராகாரம் குடிக்கலாம். அது வந்து alkalizing food. The carbohydrates you must limit to the amount that I mentioned. Okay.
Let me tell me my age. I'm 81. Okay. So I don't eat much. So,
so that one. The other one is to keep the body alkaline, the gut alkaline, which will prevent the fungus from growing. You go to an organic shop, ask for food grade baking soda.
Okay.
Not used for baking cakes.
The baking powder,
And you take 1 teaspoon in the morning in a glass of water, empty stomach, and 1 teaspoon before you sleep. The stomach must be empty. Now,
what about some people advise apple cider vinegar? Is that good?
Actually, apple cider vinegar is good because it's alkalizing. But when you have a fungus problem, don't try apple cider vinegar. Don't. All fermented foods also not good.
Okay.
So if you do not improve, then there is a drug called nystatin, NYSTATIN.
Okay.
I am not sure if you will be able to get it there, but you can start searching, or you can ask doctors, anybody who wants to prescribe. If you are able to get in touch with Dr. Valluvan, then I'll send the prescription. How I send the protocol. How to take this candida treatment with nystatin. And once you do that, maybe you will just do fine once you restrict the sugar and fruits and all this.
I don't take free sugar, absolutely, because I'm likely diabetic also.
And
so I don't take any free sugar.
Probiotics, you can drink virgin coconut oil, take the niragaram, and you take the baking soda. If you are not able to get rid of this problem, then you can get in touch with any one of the organizers. Then I'll help you.
All right, thank you. And another thing, you said the more than the sugar estimation in the blood, glucose estimation, one must do the insulin.
Fasting insulin.
They don't do it at all, in the laboratories.
Start requesting your doctors to do.
Okay, because most of
the purpose of education. Why? There are two things we can do. One is we educate the doctors, those who are willing to change and introduce new practices. The other one is creating awareness among you. So if you go and ask your doctor, I want to do a fasting insulin, of course they won't refuse.
I see. Okay, these tests are available.
It is one of the most useful tests that we all should be doing for ourselves and our patients.
Is it a GTT? No.
No, GTT is different. GTT
Tolerance,
is they give you a glucose drink and test the glucose again. That's not the one I'm saying.
Okay.
It's just the blood test.
I see. Would you recommend to be a vegan because milk is acidic? Because
No, actually, I'm not a person who is extreme in my views in most things. I believe in moderacy as long as we are sensible in doing what we are doing.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
I have few doubts. One is about soya. They say it is a complete protein for vegetarians. Soya bean. Hello.
Okay.
And secondly, and it is also, they also say that soya for boys it is not good, and for girls before hitting puberty you should not give much. Is it true, or what do you feel about it?
Okay, soya is a complete protein. I would disagree. Now, the way soya was taken those days, traditionally soya was taken in a fermented food called tempeh.
Yeah.
Soya was not taken as soya drink. Okay. Now, if you take soya, this is the problem. Soy has got natural estrogen, female hormone. It is okay if you have small amounts. You don't need extra because your body itself is producing.
Okay.
So the soy has problems. Number one, if you take soy regularly, you enrich yourself with calcium. Unlike what is commonly believed, calcium can be a killer mineral if consumed in excess. It is just the opposite of magnesium. If you take more magnesium, you're fine, but never take calcium supplements. Do not drink dairy products or soy to get more calcium. This is not how we are going to have strong bones. If you look at societies or traditionally, if you look at people who will live a healthy life the traditional way, they all have strong bones. They don't drink milk and soy. Number two, soy gives a lot of estrogen, I mentioned. So it increases the risk of breast problems, ovary, uterine problems, early menarche, early menses. This is not good, including boys. If it is not good for boys, it is not good for girls as well. And after the puberty, it's the same rule applies. You shouldn't be taking. Number two, one more problem with soy is drinking soy regularly. If patients ask me, can they drink soy? I say, fine, you drink a glass once or twice a week, homemade soy, not the ones in the packets and there's a preservatives and sugar. It's okay, maybe you can take once in a way. But if you take regular soy, you reduce your thyroid hormone. And this is absolutely important point for girls and women. You will reduce your thyroid hormone. So you have cold intolerance, you have scanty menstrual flow, you have delayed menses, infertility, delayed puberty, and the list is very long. So my recommendation is you don't drink soy.
How about tofu? How about tofu made with
tofu, you need a special chemical to solidify tofu. So too much is not good. So if you want to have tofu once a week, maybe a small amount as a variety is fine. But just because somebody says it's good, please don't take it every day. And same as soya. Once in a way, a small amount is still fine.
Okay, there's also another doubt. Gluten-free, nowadays, lot of things, they remove the gluten from even you get gluten-free wheat, gluten-free oats. Is it okay to take that, or that should also be avoided?
நான் ஒன்னு சொன்னா தவறா நினைச்சுக்காதீங்க.
கண்டிப்பா.
ஒரு பேய்னா அது வெள்ளை சட்டப்பட்டாலும் பேய் தான், கருப்பு சட்டப்பட்டாலும் பேய் தான். சரிங்களா? So, and there is a big difference between gluten rich and gluten free. This is one big difference. But what you are not aware is they are all still carbohydrates. Gluten free doesn't mean it's carbohydrate free. The whole point in living healthier and longer and delaying aging, you don't want premature aging, is by consuming a low carbohydrate diet. So just because it's gluten free, don't end up filling your fridge or your kitchen with those food, because they are still carbs. And remember, they are refined carbs. சாப்பாடுன்னா ஹோல்சமா இருக்கும். நீங்க நம்ம வெள்ளை அரிசியை விலை கொடுத்து வாங்குவோம். அதே பிரவுன் அரிசியை சீப்பா விற்பாங்க. ஆனா பிரவுன் அரிசி தான் விலை கூட இருக்கணும், விலை குறைவா இருக்கணும். வெள்ளை அரிசி விலை கூட இருக்கணும், ஏன்னா அது ப்ரோசஸ் பண்றது. ஸோ நீங்க நம்ம ஒரிஜினலா இருக்கிறத விட்டு அவன் எல்லாம் சுத்திகரிச்சு ஒண்ணுமே இல்லாத சக்கைக்கு அவ்வளவு விலை கொடுத்து வாங்குறோம். சேம் திங் வித் ஃபிளார், சேம் திங் வித் சுகர். நீங்க பனங்க கல்கண்டு எடுத்து, பனங்க ஊர்ல என்ன சொல்றீங்க, பனைமரத்துல அது என்ன கலரா இருக்கு பாத்தீங்களா? நீங்க வாங்குற சுகர் என்ன கலரா இருக்கு? ஸோ ஒரிஜினல் எப்படி இருக்கு, ரிஃபைன் பண்ணது எப்படி இருக்கு? சால்ட் ஒரிஜினல் என்ன கலரா இருக்கு, ரிஃபைன் பண்ணது என்ன கலரா இருக்கு? ரிஃபைன் பண்ண சால்ட் நம்ம வாங்குறதுலாம் எல்லாம் சோடியம் குளோரைட். ஸோ a lot of things we have to just understand, become aware and change. And the change is very important for our children and grandchildren.
Thank you so much, doctor.
Coloring the hair good நல்ல உடம்புக்கு நல்லதா இருக்கு.
இதெல்லாம் பதில் சொல்றது ரொம்ப கஷ்டம். கலர் அடிச்சாதான் சில பேருக்கு சந்தோஷமா இருக்கும். ஆனா கொஞ்சம் நேச்சுரல் டையா அடிச்சிங்க. But they are all chemicals. They are all chemicals. If you want to age and accept your aging, then you don't die. If you want to, then choose natural ones.
Doctor?
Yes.
Doctor, you said a lot about milk. How about buttermilk? Is it alkaline or acidic?
Buttermilk is more, right?
Yes.
Buttermilk is more. Okay. Now the milk has one problem is the milk protein allergy. Buttermilk, I'm not, I can't answer this in detail, but buttermilk has less of that problem as well as less of allergy problem. But please remember, if we want to take yogurt from organically farmed cow, it's okay for blood group A, and it is also okay for blood group B sometimes, not too much. Blood group A is fine, but in any form, dairy products can be disturbing for blood group O.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you, doctor.
Okay.
Doctor?
Yeah.
My name is Ravi. I am working in Coconut Development Board. I am a relative of Dr. Valduvan.
Okay.
You told about virgin coconut oil. I think I am happy that doctor is advocating all to have virgin coconut oil.
நம்ம ஊர்ல எல்லாம் அதுதானே பாவிச்சிட்டு இருந்தோம். அமெரிக்கால சொன்னாங்களோ கோகோனட் ஆயில் ஹார்ட் அட்டாக் இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணுது, சோய் ஆயில யூஸ் பண்ணுங்கன்னா நம்ம வெள்ளைக்காரங்க சொல்றத நம்பிக்கிட்டு உள்நாட்டுல உள்ளவங்க சொல்றவங்க எல்லாம் நம்பாம நம்ம எல்லாம் இப்ப மாத்தினதுனாலதான் இப்ப ஹார்ட் அட்டாக் கூட வந்தது. கோகோனட் ஆயில் ஊர்ல எடுக்கிற விதை நல்லது. வெர்ஜின் கோகோனட் ஆயில்னா அந்த செக்கு போட்டு எடுக்கிறீங்கல்ல, அதுதான் நம்ம சொல்றோம் எல்லாத்துக்கும். நல்லெண்ணெய், கடல் எண்ணெய் எல்லாம் அந்த செக்கு எண்ணெய் தான் நல்லது. பிகாஸ் தேர் இஸ் நோ ஹீட். ஸோ வெர்ஜின் கோகோனட் ஆயில் இஸ் குட்.
அதான் சார், அதே மாதிரி ஒரு ஐ திங்க் உங்களுக்கு தெரியும், கோகோனட் வாட்டர்ல இருந்து நேச்சுரல் வினிகர் எடுக்கிறாங்க.
ஓ, ஓகே.
அது நீங்க ஆப்பிள் வினிகர் சொல்றீங்க, அதே மாதிரி அதனுடைய இது உங்களுடைய அப்சர்வேஷன் ஏதாச்சும் இருக்குங்களா அதை பத்தி?
இல்லைங்க, நான் ஆக்சுவலி நீங்க சொல்றது எனக்கு இப்பதான் நான் முதத்தோட கேட்கிறேன். கேட்கறதுக்கு சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு. ஆனா நான் பாக்குறேன் எங்க கிடைக்குதுன்னு பாக்குறேன்.
நிச்சயமா இருக்கு சார் மலேசியாவில். ஏன்னா விர்ஜின் கோகோனட் ஆயில் இதுவும் ஆல்மோஸ்ட் இட் இஸ் a காமன் ப்ராடக்ட் யூ கேன் சே.
இல்ல இது இங்க இருந்த மாதிரி இருக்கிற மாதிரி எனக்கு தெரியல. நான் விசாரிச்சு பாக்குறேன். அப்படி இல்லைன்னா நான் ஊருக்கு வந்தேன்னா நான் ட்ரை பண்ணி பாக்குறேன்
சார்.
சரி,
ஓகே சார், தேங்க்யூ.
நன்றி.
தம்பி யாரோ பேசுறாங்க, அன்மியூட் பண்ணாம.
ஓகே சார், இப்போ கேக்குதா? ஃபைன், ஓகே. யா, I am Dr. Ratnam sir from Trichy. I am a pediatrician. A very excellent talk, sir. I just want to have few doubts, sir. You said about the baking soda. 1 teaspoon morning and night. How long can we take the baking soda?
When you are treating, if you have the gastric bloating, reflux, maybe you want to do it for a month or so. But to keep the intestine alkaline and to keep your body alkaline, you can take it long term. Like me, I always take it in the morning, once a day. The only caution is some patients, those who are hypertensive, they have sodium sensitivity. So though they will notice an elevation in blood pressure, not acute hypertension, but an elevation. But the reason for sodium sensitivity is actually because of magnesium deficiency. So as long as somebody is on magnesium or they are sufficient in magnesium, it doesn't happen. But if you are asking someone to take who is a hypertensive patient, just ask them to keep an eye on the blood pressure. That's the only precaution. Otherwise, it's okay.
How do you advise magnesium supplementation? What is the advice? Magnesium supplementation.
Magnesium, I'm not sure what is available there, but then it's usually as a 500 milligram capsule. It will have a combination of magnesium, like magnesium. There's one magnesium oxide that is not the best, but usually it comes as a combination. Try not to buy only magnesium oxide. Try to buy a combination. Like there can be citrate, there can be malate. So it's a combination of, we call it chelated minerals. So if you buy one, and usually comes as a 500 milligram capsule, you can start with once a day. Twice a day would be a good dose for most of us. If you really want to know how much to take and how sufficient or deficient you are, you have to check your red blood cell magnesium level.
Thank you. Excellent, sir. And one more thing about the curd, you said about the buttermilk is curd, yogurt. Actually, yogurt has lots of probiotic. Lots of probiotic.
Yeah.
So it's better to take yogurt than milk, sir. How does the acidity come down?
Yeah. Actually, yogurt is good. But provided the milk is actually from organically farmed cows. Yogurt otherwise it's good. But for blood group O, they are highly intolerant to all forms of dairy products. O blood group. Actually, in your practice, if you don't mind me saying, if you improve children's immune system by removing the dairy products and give them vitamin C, you don't have to give vitamin D for children. They just need to play out in the sun. They make their own very fast, unlike adults. You will notice a tremendous improvement in the frequent tonsillitis or upper respiratory tract infection. And if they have tonsillitis, it is very likely they already have candida because of the chronic exposure to antibiotics.
How much do you recommend the vitamin C maintenance daily?
Okay, so the vitamin C is, I mentioned to you just now, that is a standard dose, basic dose for daily use, and it is best is divided into 3 doses. Okay,
daily.
So the dose, the optimum, we talk about optimum, what is for good health. We are not talking about a dose that prevents scurvy. Okay, at the age of 1, you can give them 1 gram. 1 gram in divided doses. At the age of 2, you can give them 2 grams, 3 grams. At the age of 10, they take an adult dose like 10 grams. But if you don't want to go to so much, a child who's 10 years old, they can take adult dose. The minimum we should take is 1 gram 3 times a day. But for us, if we take 2 grams 3 times a day, it is better. But for those who take about 10 grams, you will definitely have a healthy and longer life. A lot of long-living physicians who practice integrative medicine are the ones who take high-dose vitamin C. This is a standard dose. But when someone is sick, including children, the first rule is at the first sign of a problem, increase the dose. So if they are taking 1 gram, you may want to give 2 or 3. Then the dose must be repeated every 2 to 3 hours. The only time you reduce is when they get diarrhea. Diarrhea is not a side effect. The body is telling you, I had enough. So you either reduce the dose or delay, instead of 3 hours, you give 4 hours or 5 hours once. Then the next day you got to start again. So you do it more frequently and do it for about 3 days. By the second day, if you call the parents, they will tell you, my child is so much better. As simple as that.
Thank you, sir. So much. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
The vitamin C, will it not make the medium of body into acidic? So much of dose?
No, actually, vitamin C is ascorbic acid, but like lemon juice is acidic, but the metabolite, that citrate, is actually alkaline. So it's not vitamin C is acidic, ascorbic acid is acidic, so it's going to make the body alkaline. I mean acidic. But the purpose of keeping your immune system healthy and the collagen strong and every other aspect of health, this is how you protect your health. So it's not about so much about acidity, because it's the metabolites that we carry about. Now, when you have enough vitamin C, you protect your very, very essential component of health, mitochondria. That is where the body generates free radicals, especially. The most free radicals are generated in the mitochondria, and there is only one way to protect the mitochondria. One is by having enough glutathione, which could be a new term for most of us. Number two is vitamin C. Glutathione is made inside your cell, and vitamin C, you have to take it as a supplement. But glutathione actually is insufficient in most of us, because the world has become very toxic. So we are deficient.
Vitamin C, you suggest to take it as a tablet, because liquid form, it's very labile.
You can liquid, actually, yeah, it's not easy to manufacture liquid, because there is a type of liquid vitamin C which we use as for intravenous infusion. But it's very difficult to make and keep it stable, because if it is oxidized, the liquid will become yellowish. That means it's become oxidized. So the better way to take would be tablets or as powder. The powder is usually ascorbic acid, which should be taken in an empty stomach, and almost always it doesn't cause any gastric problem. Almost always. If somebody doesn't tolerate ascorbic acid, then it's likely they have candida. The other way to take acid is to take tablets which is sodium ascorbate, and that should be taken with food. So you can combine, say for example, in the morning, first thing in the morning, your stomach is empty, you take ascorbic acid, which is easy, because 1 teaspoon usually amounts to 4 tablets. That's a very good dose in the morning. So after that, you can take tablets with meals.
I don't think there is a powder available in India.
Yeah, you can check if it is available. Otherwise, just take the tablets.
Regarding the magnesium, doctor, what's the natural source for magnesium, for the common persons?
A lot of green vegetables. Green vegetables na actually நம்ம சாப்பிடுறது நம்ம குவாசி கீரைங்க சாப்பிடுறோம். ஸோ அவுத்திக்கீரை, பசலைக்கீரை, பொன்னாங்கண்ணி கீரை, முருங்கைக்கீரை, இந்த மாதிரி கீரைங்களை சாப்பிட்டோம்னா இதுல வந்து கெமிக்கல்ஸ் ஒன்று போடுறதுக்கு ரொம்ப கஷ்டம். யார் போய் அவுத்திக்கிற மரத்துல கெமிக்கலை போடுறாங்க. ரெண்டாவது மெக்னீசியம் நல்லா கிடைக்கும். அப்புறம் அடுத்தது வந்து நட்ஸ் ஆர் குட், லைக் ஆல்மண்ட்ஸ், வால்நட், ஹேசல்நட், பிரேசில் நட்.
Regarding your doctor said baking soda. Is it a common baking soda that's available generally?
You can actually, it's better for us to get the organic baking soda or food grade baking soda. You can buy in organic shops. I'm sure there are organic shops now there in India. I'm sure you find a lot where they sell organic vegetables and organic fruits. And
yes, yes.
So, and it is very cheap. ஒரு நினைக்கிறேன் இங்க உள்ள மணிக்கு கன்வெர்ட் பண்ணோம்னா ஒரு 50 ரூபாய் வரும் ஒரு பேக்கெட். அந்த ஒரு பேக்கெட் நம்மளுக்கு வந்து 3-4 மாசத்துக்கு வரும் யூஸ் பண்ண.
Organic baking soda. And you said statin and vitamin D, if I remember, it doesn't match each other. Am I right? Yes.
Oh, actually, statins are one of the most dangerous drugs that man has ever discovered. Sorry if I'm offending any one of you.
I concur with you. Many cardiologists are taking statin tablets.
Actually, there is a lot of reports now that have come up. Actually, there are reports in the, they are actually statistical analysis done. They are from randomized control trials, double-blind control trials. They are statistical analysis. And so now we have a lot of evidence to show that 100 years of statin use has not done much to heart disease. But on the other hand, there is much more disease than now. And the thing is that your hormones are made from cholesterol, except growth hormone and thyroid hormone. Growth hormone. Our testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, cortisol, they're all made from cholesterol. That's number one. Vitamin D is made from cholesterol. If you are deficient in D, we die younger. If you are deficient in hormone, we have premature aging, we have more disease, and we die younger. So by giving statins, you reduce hormones, you reduce vitamin D. Who on earth can say that statins save lives? There is another way of looking at it called is NNT, number needed to be treated. So that means NNT for cholesterol drugs is 1 in 100. That means you need to treat 100 patients for 1 to benefit. Is that justification for use of the drugs? And there is an increase in cancers, especially GIT cancers. Now, all this is available in the, if you search for it, plenty of evidence is there.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Statins.
I'm one of those.
Cruel treatment.
It's a statin. If you want to knock out the memory of a person, you give statin, he'll.
Yeah, because your hormones, your pregnenolone, your progesterone, all these are made from cholesterol. So you cannot take statins. And the rule is this. If the statins are high, why is it high? Again, the root cause. They are high because your cholesterol, your hormones are low. When you have low hormones as we age, the body is very smart. It will recognize it. It will increase your hepatic synthesis of cholesterol. And one of the indications of longer living people is they have higher LDL. If you suppress LDL as we age, then you shorten lifespan. The second reason is if you have inflammation, especially gut inflammation like candidiasis, both your CRP will be high, your ESR can be high, and your cholesterol will be high. Why? Because cholesterol is a healing molecule. Whenever there is inflammation, whenever there is injury, whenever there is hormone deficiency, this is the master which comes into play to save lives.
It's like a traffic police coming to the accidental place.
Exactly. So we label it because we have a drug to sell. We label it as the bad guy. And third thing is when someone has high cholesterol, the only thing you need to do is to prevent the oxidation of the cholesterol by taking antioxidants. Glutathione, vitamin C, vitamin E. As long as cholesterol is not oxidized, it is not dangerous.
Regarding the vegetables, raw vegetables, taking raw vegetables, Dr. Ravi Kumar also has discussed very much. One of the reasons we have some resistance, we have some reservation is raw vegetables in Indian scenario. நீங்க 2 நாளைக்கு முன்னால பாத்தீங்கன்னா திருச்சி மார்க்கெட்ல வெங்காயத்தை வந்து சாக்கடையில ஏறக்குறைய 1 அடி தூரத்துல தண்ணியில மிதந்து அது சாக்குல எடுத்து வைக்கிறாங்க. How can we believe and take it? Most of the vegetables are marketed in a very bad place.
வெஜிடபிள் நம்ம சமைச்சு சாப்பிட்டாலும் சீக்கு தான் என்ன பண்றது? உலகத்துல வந்து ஐ திங்க் நியாயம் ரொம்ப குறைஞ்சு போச்சு.
இல்ல ஹாஃப் அதாவது நறுக்குன்னு சாப்பிடுற மாதிரி கொஞ்சம் வேக வச்சு சாப்பிடலாமா?
I have no answers for this. The world has to change. But we have to change ourselves first.
So the best way to clean
within us first.
So the best way to clean is use potassium permanganate, sir. Simple, sir. Potassium permanganate. So yeah, cleaning all vegetables, but the safest and doesn't cause any loss of nutrition. Potassium permanganate, you very dilute. Few crystals and you what or half.
Yes, quite safe, quite safe.
Very safe, very safe.
I agree with you.
100% safe, sir. No. Okay.
And cheaper also. Cheaper also.
Very cheap, very cheap. Fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Dr. Selvam, thanks for this excellent webinar, seminar, lecture. I have magnesium citrate. Is the same like magnesium?
Yeah,
or it's a different?
citrate is a good form. But what's the, is it liquid or capsule?
It's a tablet.
Okay.
It's a
How many
capsule.
milligrams? How many milligrams?
250 milligrams.
Ideal dose would be 500 milligrams. So you can take once or twice a day.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. I live in Chicago area in USA. We get almond milk. Is almond milk is better than cow milk?
Yeah, almond milk is fine, but try not to take it with sugar.
Thank you. It's an excellent seminar. Thank you for your time.
If you want taste, you can add stevia. Sometimes you can have a little bit of honey, good quality honey, not a lot. 1 teaspoon a day is sufficient. That would be a better choice.
Is honey good for your health?
Yes, in moderation. If you take adults, if you take 1 teaspoon a day is more than sufficient, especially if you take it in a warm glass of water.
What about the carbohydrate in it?
The amount of sugar you get in honey, it's tolerable to the body, because honey is actually like, it's like complete food for the bee, right? So it has got lots of vitamins and minerals. So it doesn't cause that much of spike in blood sugar, or if it rises, you have minerals to handle the rise. But just because honey is good, you shouldn't take copious amounts. That's what I suggested. If you take 1 teaspoon a day, is good enough, a good quality honey.
So organic honey is better, right?
Sorry?
Organic honey, is it better?
Again, depends if you are living in a seasonal country. If you have winter time, then if you get honey supplied throughout the year, then you need to be careful, because the honeybee could have been fed with sugar to produce honey.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, if you live in a tropical country, then you can get honey throughout the year. And if you live in US, you have long winters, then unlikely your supply should last 24 months. So you look at the source where you buy and really make sure that it's organic. Otherwise, you'll be just getting sugar.
So we live in an ice and snow country. I think that you are right. It could have been
anyway, they are not used to. The other one about food is you eat food what is available to in your native country. Your body is designed to eat that food. So people in Iceland, they are not designed to eat honey. That's okay. That's what God wanted them to eat, other foods. They are healthy, right? They eat everything about acidic food. All that I mentioned doesn't apply to them. They eat acidic food and they are still healthy, because their genetic makeup is different. We are different.
Thank you, doctor.
Doctor, you are different. We see a lot of doctors, they don't share this kind of common man's actionable items. They talk in medical terms here, and they give only medications or some other kind of medical jargons. You made us to think a lot what you eat, and thank you very much. This is layman's terms and daily Tamil families related stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank
you. Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Actually, I have a simple doubt. Should magnesium for better absorption, should we combine it with some other, like for vitamin C, you need iron. So for magnesium, do you need something else for better absorption?
No, you can take magnesium by itself.
Okay. And secondly, you suggested a lot of...
You were saying vitamin C for iron absorption. So does it mean you are taking iron tablets?
I am not taking any tablets.
Please remember this. There are 3 minerals you do not take unless your deficiency is proven. Okay. Calcium, iron, copper.
Okay. I am not taking any tablets.
But magnesium you can take by itself.
And should we compulsory take, or with food, whatever we eat a very healthy life?
Yeah, but then, okay, you eat a healthy food, healthy diet, organic food, but the soil is my problem. My concern is the soil. Is the soil rich? The soil organic or volcanic kind of soil? It is not. But if you really want to know, then you can check your red blood cell magnesium levels. Okay. Or if you have muscular cramps, okay, if you have painful menses, if you have anxiety, if you have high blood pressure, if you have a heart problem, then migraine or menstrual pain, or premenstrual syndrome, then you are likely to have magnesium deficiency. And one of the first signs could be just muscle cramps and stiffness in the body.
Okay, thank you very much, doctor. And secondly, I also want to know, you suggested a lot of tablets for vitamin C. Is a natural source okay? Like, for example, I'm going to catch a cold, and I know that beforehand I started drinking a lot of lemon juice or vitamin amla rich juice, gooseberry juice, sitting or plain gooseberry. So will that help, or I should surely take
Sure,
vitamin?
they'll help. Sure, they'll help. Especially if we get organic amla, is a very good source of vitamin C. Lemon is a little bit less than amla, or quite a bit less, but you can still drink. Now, the point is, supposing you're coming down with the flu, and all these natural means help you, and you rid yourself of the flu by the very next day, then whatever you are taking has given you enough vitamin C.
Okay. Okay. And
Okay.
no, please.
For example, if I take about 14 grams of vitamin C a day. Okay.
14 grams.
Now, when I am not well, when I'm coming down with any allergies, I hardly get sick. My problem is sometimes allergy. And so when I'm not well, my dose can be up to 60 grams before I get diarrhea. That means that's the amount of vitamin C that my body wants to heal itself. So the guideline is diarrhea. So if you are able to, you can't measure how much vitamin C you are taking from amla or gooseberry, but the point is this. At the end of the day, the parameter that we are looking at is healing. If you are able to heal yourself by taking all these things, then whatever you are taking is taking sufficient. But the body will require many, many times more vitamin C when you're sick. If you check a goat, they produce about 10 grams a day. The same goat, if you make them sick and check, they make 100 grams. This is science. Because the goats can make vitamin C themselves. So they make so much. When they're sick, they make a lot more. We human beings cannot make vitamin C. So how much can you make when you're sick? So you're still 0 1. That's why we get sicker.
Second, for leukoderma or vitiligo problem, they say we should not take vitamin C at all. So is it true? And will it affect the future? Because recently my mom got detected with this, and she stopped eating all vitamin C rich foods because of this. So
I can't agree to that. Vitiligo is an autoimmune disease.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Hello,
autoimmune
Selvam.
disease is
One more
usually
question.
because of.
Hello,
Can you
Selvam.
hear?
I am Parsar, your classmate, UG classmate from Parangipete, Chidambaram, near Chidambaram.
I
Do
think
you
she has.
remember me? I have one doubt in question.
No, I think I was answering somebody else before. I haven't answered the leukoderma. Vitiligo.
Oh, please come.
Shankar, Uma, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, vitiligo or leukoderma is an autoimmune disease. That means your body is fighting against its own cell. Now, the reasons I can tell you, one is vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin C is not contraindicated. D3, they are very deficient. So you want to check their blood, check the blood for the level. The other one, there is a hormone called DHEA. So most patients are very, very deficient in this hormone. The third reason is she could be high in insulin. So these are the things that you should look at. But vitamin C, as far as I know, vitamin C is not contraindicated.
Okay.
Avoid gluten. Avoid gluten, which is the root cause of autoimmune diseases. And just check if she has all this gastric problem, bloating, and reflux problem. Then you should certainly ask her to remove all sugars as well as gluten.
Okay. Thank you so much, doctor. Thank you.
Gluten. Gluten is it present in all the cereals like ragi, other.
The safer ones would be quinoa. But I think kollu, if you have to check this out. You get the name in English and check this out. Kollu and kambu could be gluten free. But please check this out.
Right. Regarding you said fruits வந்து avoid பண்ணுங்கறீங்க. அப்புறம் should be avoid fruits.
You avoid fruits when you are undergoing candida treatment for 2 to 4 weeks.
And potato, Indian potato இருக்கு இல்லைங்க. Is it acceptable?
Potato வந்து எங்க இருந்து வந்தாலும் potato தான்.
Right, okay.
அதுக்கு பதிலா நம்ம sweet potato வந்து is better because it has more vitamins and minerals, but still a carb, so don't take a lot.
Hello.
Yes.
Parsadi.
Yes,
sometimes diarrhea patients will come. They will come with cramps and all these things.
Yes.
We don't give magnesium for this type of patients. We will give IV fluids with usual ringer lactate or normal DNS. Patient improve ஆயிடுது. There we don't give magnesium.
But if you look at people who get cramps, the underlying causes, I'm telling you, one is the major cause is magnesium deficiency. Because if you give IV fluids, maybe because you expand the circulatory volume, you hydrate them and they feel better, but there's a tendency to come back. They very likely they'll get it back. It's not like one infusion is going to heal them completely. So one of the reason is magnesium deficiency. The other reason could be potassium deficiency. Potassium deficiency is usually associated with muscle twitching, fibrillations. So the same thing happens in the heart. You get arrhythmias because of potassium deficiency. Another reason for muscular cramps, especially at night, would be hypothyroidism. So even if it is hypothyroidism, magnesium will still be helpful. You can actually check this out. And you look at, references. If you believe, you start giving them magnesium. By actually optimizing their magnesium level, we can actually prevent other medical problems like high blood pressure or a myocardial infarction or a stroke and many other problems. But because magnesium is so essential for many of the biochemical reactions in our body. And cramps would be the first signal, could be the first signal.
How can we differentiate between the two? Is it due to potassium or to magnesium?
Potassium deficiency, it could be associated with muscular cramps, but more is magnesium. Potassium is usually muscle weakness because it's very important for nerve conduction. And because the nerve conduction is poor and the nerves can be irritable, that's why you get fasciculations and the fibrillations or arrhythmias in the heart. And potassium deficiency can be associated with water retention or edema. In fact, if the way I treat edema in pregnancy is with potassium replacement. You see, we always say edema is normal in pregnancy, but it is okay to have a small amount of edema after 36 weeks. But even then, in my opinion, is potassium deficiency. So if we don't treat, many of these women will become hypertensive in pregnancy. But when you give potassium, the edema goes away. So water retention could also be a sign of potassium deficiency. Okay.
Selvam, can I come in here for a bit?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for a fantastic talk. It is very, very enlightening.
Yes.
If Parthasarathi get a question on if it's in a hospital setup,
yeah,
we do magnesium regularly as well as potassium, so we know who could be deficient or even treat empirically, but that we know magnesium deficiency by doing the levels. But the reason why just sodium chloride itself is enough sometimes, you're faced with a situation where you are very much short of sodium and some deficiency of potassium and magnesium, shall we say. So the patient's priority for the kidney is to conserve the sodium. So if you give sodium chloride by IV infusion, then the kidney's priority changes. It doesn't need to conserve sodium anymore. So it's dosed to conserve potassium, magnesium, and other ions that are necessary. So usually in acute dehydration state, most hospitals, they give just sodium chloride infusion, because that's enough to correct the other electrolyte imbalance as well. But what Dr. Selvam says is a different scenario where magnesium is useful in the long term, not just in the immediate 1 day period. The long term magnesium supplement, he believes it's useful. Does it make sense to you, Selvam?
Yeah, very much so, because I understood the question as what about if someone comes with muscle cramps? I didn't hear the word dehydration. Dehydration, of course, you have to hydrate them. But if supposing someone is dehydrated, you have to hydrate them, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to treat the patient. But at the same time, if you want to hydrate somebody, say they have muscular cramps, you want to finish the hydration with first pint of water, sodium chloride. The second pint, you can still add magnesium sulfate, or you can give a prescription of magnesium supplements.
What I wanted to tell you, because we don't give magnesium routinely. In fact, we don't give magnesium. After hearing your lecture, only we know the importance of magnesium. But so far, so many years of experience, whenever the patient comes with all these things, we give some supplement IV fluids and send them. But they don't come with the cramps after that. Maybe my experience is limited to that.
We do magnesium supplement mainly in hospital setup mainly. This is why primary care, it's not very well known, I would say.
Yeah. So you can actually verify whatever that you have heard. You don't have to accept everything that I've said. Verify. There is enough information. Okay. You can actually download a free book called Calcium by Death. Death by Calcium by Thomas Levy. Now, in his book, he has written a lot about calcium and magnesium. That would be a very useful information. And there is also many books like Magnesium Miracles and all those. So verify. But if it is possible, even in a hospital setup, I'm not sure how the setup there it works. If it is possible to identify if the patient comes to you with symptoms of magnesium deficiency, then it would be useful to give them an advice to take magnesium supplements, even in large doses. They are practically non-toxic. The only thing that you get with magnesium high dose is diarrhea. Because magnesium, this is one of the safest supplement besides vitamin C, because body has got a safety valve. That means there's only so much it will take. The rest will come out as diarrhea. So you can't overload someone with oral magnesium unless you give intravenous magnesium. If you give intravenous magnesium like magnesium sulfate, 1 ampule given over 5 minutes will bring down even acute hypertension, and it will reduce so much of chest pain in MI. But if you are giving it in an infusion, magnesium sulfate 1 milligram, I think 1 ampule, I think it's about 5 milligrams. This is what we do. But I'm not sure what is available. But magnesium supplement would be advisable for majority of people because it's a very, very, very common deficiency.
Doctor, as a pediatrician, whenever I come across a moderate to severe dehydration, first pint will be a ringer lactate or a normal saline. Next pint, if I add, that will be invariably with a multivitamin ampule, which will give vitamin C and magnesium. And I see wonderfully they are improving very well even without antibiotics.
Yeah, I have a question. I started taking, magnesium. It helped me really good with my cramps. I used to get cramps at night. I started taking magnesium. It's really helping me. I don't get cramps anymore. And then I have one more question. I have throat itching all the time. Does the vitamin C help for that?
Your what? Sorry?
Throat itching. Like when I lay down, all the acid reflux comes and then my throat will be itching. So I cannot sleep.
Vitamin C is not a direct help because that could be, as I mentioned, it could be a candida. So is it associated with bloating and gastric problems?
Yes, I have acid reflux.
So that if you have bloating and acid reflux, So anyway, the acid reflux is this because you have low acidity in the stomach. You get your food doesn't get digested. Once the food doesn't get digested, it becomes fermented. The fermented food is not food for you, it's food for the fungus and bad bacteria. So the gas actually, when you propel out, you get this acid reflux. So if you want to improve the digestion, what you can do is drink a small amount of lemon juice just before your meals to increase your gastric acid production. Number two, you chew your food very well. Take your time to chew your food and then swallow. And any supplements they are taking, after chewing the food, before you swallow your supplements with the food. Don't take your tablets after and at the end of the meal with a glass or 2 or 3 glasses of water. Because we are not supposed to be drinking during meals unless it is like a ginger water or some sips of lemon water or some rasam, little bit of, that's okay. But people drink gulps of water during and immediately after meal. That shouldn't be. So if you do this, and maybe you can take some probiotics and stop sugar and see if your reflux.
Yeah, I'm taking probiotics regularly. I don't take sugar much.
If your reflux still stays, then you will have to look at the fungus treatment, which you can Google. But the throat itchiness, if it is reflux, vitamin C helps by improving your immune system, which will keep the fungus under control.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm taking vitamin C 1000 milligram, like 3 times a day. So I should increase that to 6 times a day, right?
You can certainly do that.
Okay, thank you.
Neeraharam is a good source of magnesium also.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you very much.
Doctor, give vitamin E for cramps. How much it is helpful? I don't know. I want to clarify that.
Sorry?
Vitamin E you used to give for the people come with cramps.
Vitamin C, how many grams is it?
Vitamin E.
D.
Vitamin E for echo.
Oh, E. If the best way to take vitamin E, you must get hold of a mixed tocopherols and tocotrienols. There are 8 types of vitamin E. Try to get all the 8 types because most of the vitamin E could be alpha tocopherol, only one type. That's actually how, it's not how it exists in nature. In nature, it exists as a whole. So try to get one as all the 8 types there. And it usually comes as 400 milligram tablet. So you can take once a day or you can take it twice a day. 400 milligram once a day is fine. But if someone has cardiovascular problems or if they have high cholesterol, you want to take a higher dose, it's twice a day.
Selvam, can I ask you about this? Those
yes,
who are inevitably taking some statins, which deplete the enzyme Q10, which is an essential intracellular for function of majority of the cellular function. What do you advise a supplement for those who are inevitably taking for various reasons of statin, a Q10 supplement? And if so, there are 2 versions, isn't it? Ubiquinol and the other one, and which version and how much you would recommend?
The Q10 exists as ubiquinone, O-N-E, ubiquinone, and it needs to be activated to ubiquinol, NOL. So that's the active form. So if you take the ubiquinone, then it has to be activated to ubiquinol. So if you don't want, you see, as we age, the problem of activation is an issue. Like for example, if you take folic acid, it has to be activated. B6 has to be activated. B12 has to be activated. Even thyroid hormone T4 must be activated to T3. So we lose the ability to activate, and because a lot of deficiencies in vitamins and minerals, especially magnesium. Magnesium is important for the conversion of the active form, non-active to active form. So you may want to think about magnesium, but otherwise take ubiquinol. And someone who is on statins, The higher dose would be better, which is 100 milligrams 3 times a day. Ubiquinol.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Ramna.
Hello.
Yes.
Doctor, I am having a condition called subclinical hypothyroid. My laboratory it is saying that my TSH level is higher while T3 and T4 is within the range. So what should I do?
The biggest problem in recognizing and treating thyroidism is missing to treat this subclinical hypothyroidism. Now, when you say subclinical, that means we are waiting for you to become clinical before we treat. That should not be the reason. You should be treated. The reason why we don't treat is doctors, we are trained to recognize the reference range set by the laboratories. The reference range set by laboratories is based on blood tests that is samples sent to the labs, majority from sick people. So you cannot expect a healthy reference range. You understand? So they are not going to take 100 healthy people or 10,000 people with super health and establish the reference range and give you. So for example, in my country, if you look at, you should check free T4, not T4, free T4, free T3 and TSH. The reason why your TSH is high is because your function of thyroid gland is low. So you're hypothyroid, that's why your TSH is high. But once you treat the thyroid, don't look at TSH because it will be low and doctors will stop the treatment. Do not look at this. You don't even have to look at thyroid function regularly because it costs money. Once you have made a diagnosis, for example, the way to look at hormone deficiency is this. For example, in my country, in Malaysia, if I were to check thyroid hormone, T4, free T4. Now the range is from 9 to 25. I'm not sure what's in your country, but you can look at it this way. Now that means the doctor is going to say you are normal as long as you remain between 9 to 25. Correct? But unfortunately, 95% of the population exists within this range, and you could be hypothyroid. So you need to be treated before it gives you more problems. Only 2.5% will be below the reference range, and usually it happens in people who are very sick. Those who have cancer, those who are admitted to ICU, very sick people will be below the reference range. Above the reference range, again 2.5 is hyperthyroid. So majority will be within the reference range. So how do you know that you have optimum thyroid is, you should take the upper limit of the lab. Say I told you 9 to 25, you take 25 and you must be around 75% of the 25. Which means it should be around 21, around 21. So unless you are there, you do not have optimum thyroid and you need to be treated.
Okay. Sir, what kind of diet I should follow?
The food that you should avoid to reduce the problems for thyroid is primarily gluten. Number 2, soya. Number 3, I'm not sure how much. You know, cabbage, I'm sure it's there in India, cabbage.
Yeah, it's there.
Soya, gluten, cabbage. Avoid. Add some sea salt or organic sea salt so you can get some iodine. You can have some seaweed to get your iodine. But the hormone deficiency, in my opinion, must be corrected. And what is available for you would be thyroxine, levothyroxine.
Thyroxine.
Yeah, so you can, I think it's 0.5 milligrams. Take 1 tablet before breakfast.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, and if you feel warmer, if you feel more energetic, you feel warm, not cold anymore, you should feel warmer, you should have more energy, you should sweat more easily when you work or exercise. That is a guideline that you're already okay. If after 2 to 3 weeks, if you do not improve, then you can increase the dose.
Okay, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Selvam, the dose of levothyroxine
Yeah.
is between 100 to 175 microgram, I think.
So it's 0.05 milligram.
Yeah, yeah.
100 to 175, Ravi, most patients will remain hypothyroid. They usually require, minimum they require is 500 microgram, that means 0.05 milligram. But again, the problem is once we start aging, of course, levothyroxine is not the best option, but unfortunately, the compounded T4 and T3 is not widely available. Like I'm sure, you know, in Trichy or India, it's very difficult to find. And it must be prescribed by a doctor, so it's not easily available. So if you do not have, at least can take the levothyroxine, but in my opinion, take magnesium, because it will help you to convert the T4 to T3 and have some B complex. B complex, it will help in the conversion.
Okay, doctor, thank you.
I have a question. Can thyroid patients eat millets?
Sorry?
Can thyroid patients eat millets?
Millet, is it?
Yes, millets.
Millet, actually, Ravi Kumar also can share his opinion. I believe millet has got gluten. So, in my opinion, I will not recommend gluten diet. You have a choice of a non-gluten diet. You have plenty of other choices.
Does ragi contain gluten, doctor? Ragi?
Yes, you can double confirm.
Well, I'm not so sure, but we'll have, somebody has to check.
Yeah.
No, I've just checked Google. Ragi is gluten-free.
Gluten-free.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Ragi and kambu both are gluten-free. That's what I thought. But after he told me, I just checked Google. It says it's gluten-free.
Okay, okay. So ragi and kambu, gluten-free.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
millet as gluten, I believe, Ravi.
These are millets anyway. Anything with this little grains, like ragi, kambu are millets.
Oh, so you call all of them as millets, and they are
Oh,
gluten.
they're all called millets. Yeah, they're all called millets.
Okay, so there are some websites that they say millet is gluten rich. Gluten has gluten. So you can take it, because traditionally, if you look at people, especially in South India, for hundreds of years, people have eaten ragi and kambu, and they have been always very healthy, because it's a complex thing. It is full of fiber, vitamins, and minerals. It's not like refined food like white flour, maida flour, even white rice for that matter. So if it is gluten-free, it's okay to take.
Yeah, I've got a list of things that may be gluten-free. One is rice, 2 is sorghum, 3 is millets of all kinds, amaranth.
Amaranth, yes. I forgot. Amaranth is gluten-free. Amaranth is available in India.
Yeah. Buckwheat, corn or maize, they're gluten-free, but they may not be good because they're genetically modified mostly, and quinoa. Yeah. These are the gluten-free grains.
Corn, I don't recommend anymore, Ravi, because there is a chemical that they use called atrazine. Atrazine is invariably used in corn cultivation, and this is a big source of estrogen.
Yeah, yeah.
You meant quinoa. You meant quinoa.
Quinoa is
gluten-free, but corn things are not good. I said as well, we don't normally recommend GM as well as estrogen. I agree entirely.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's going to be 10:30. Maybe I can take one more question and we can join again another session.
I think it's been quite comprehensive, and you've given us a lot of insight into various things. What it doesn't agree with the China studies, he doesn't believe in individual supplements after looking at various things. His suggestion is go for foods which are rich in these nutrients rather than go for any pharmaceutical supplement of any kind. But that's something that, just thought I'll mention. But I would suggest, I don't know much about these things, but I will read about it. But maybe Selvam should read the China study as well, see what he thinks.
I'm aware of that study, Ravi, but you see, the thing is that if you have a rainbow diet, that means colorful foods, and they are organically grown, okay? But this organically grown also should mean that the soil must not have been exposed to pesticide for at least 10 years. And the soil must be rich in vitamins and minerals. Then the food that we eat is rich in everything, and we don't need to supplement. That I fully agree. But unfortunately, I think if you look at what is available for majority of people, I think it's hardly I can ever see someone who can eat a rainbow diet and everything grown organically in a volcanic soil or soil that is so rich in vitamins and minerals. Now, the scarcity of vitamins and minerals or deficiencies is a reason for a lot of illnesses. So I believe modern living, this is the drawback. The price we pay is deficiencies. And so as long as supplements are made by manufacturers with maintaining high quality, you cannot, they are not what is available in nature, but the molecular structure is the same as what exists in nature. Only when you change the molecular structure, it becomes a drug. This is the reason why pharmaceutical companies never endorse natural products, nor will they invest their money, because it cannot be patented. Nobody invests millions of dollars to prove vitamin C, because no one can patent. If they cannot patent, then they don't enjoy the benefits. So as long as vitamin C or magnesium, if it has same molecular structure as what exists in nature, we call them as bioidentical molecules. And that's fine, or orthomolecular molecules. So the China study is good, but it is, in my opinion, it is not within the reach of most of us. Most of us. So I believe supplements is necessary.
One last question, sir. No, one last question.
Yes.
You have, you have the whole program you recorded, I think. You recorded the whole program, your program now, right now. Can we know where we can get the recorded program? We have no, the current program is being recorded. I think that they feel it's being recorded, the program.
Please contact Mr. Pragasam. He will send you the link for everything.
Okay, sir.
Or anybody who is the organizer, then they will send you the link.
And the email ID also, that we can ask him, as he said, he said we can send any queries to him, and he will send us some of the lectures.
If you contact Pragasam, he will contact Dr. Selvam, and it will.
Thank you so much. Excellent.
Dr.
Excellent.
One last question. அந்த Redmi 7 Pro அவங்கள பின் பண்றேன். நீங்க கேளுங்க. சார் கேளுங்க. ஹேண்ட் ரைஸ் பண்ணிருக்கீங்களா? I don't know, your name is not there. Redmi Phone 7 Pro JME.
Can I have one question?
Right. கேளுங்க சார். அவர்ட்ட இருந்து வரல. கேளுங்க சார்.
Can I have? Yes. Dr. Selvam, you don't advise calcium tablets orally, pharmaceutical tablets?
Actually, calcium is a supplement, is a mineral that is quite easy to get from food. Food supply of calcium is sufficient unless you are proven to be calcium deficient. But even if one is calcium deficient, then you need to correct the magnesium deficiency. The reason why I'm saying this is calcium, 99% of calcium is outside the cell. 99% of magnesium is inside the cell. So you must ensure that you are optimum in magnesium. Calcium is easy to get from food. But if you take calcium supplement and if you are deficient in magnesium, it creates a lot of intracellular oxidative stress, IOS. And this is a very common problem, especially among ladies who consume calcium in various forms to strengthen their bones, but there is still so much of osteoporosis. So my opinion is calcium should be supplemented only if somebody is deficient. When you take calcium, these are the points to remember. Calcium must be inside the bone, not outside mostly. So if you want the calcium to be absorbed, first thing you need vitamin D, active form of vitamin D, D3. So you must absorb it, make it from sunlight, then your kidney must activate first step, your liver must activate first step, kidney must activate the second step, the last step is activated by magnesium, so it's D3. Then D3 helps you to absorb calcium from the intestine. Once calcium is in the blood, the calcium needs to be transported into the bones. That needs vitamin K2, which is available abundantly from green vegetables, all the kire I told you. If you are deficient in K2, then the calcium doesn't go to the bone. It can go and sit somewhere else like kidneys and form a stone. It can be calcium deposition in your blood vessels, a lot of problems. Spurs, osteophytes. So calcium shouldn't be taken by as such. If at all somebody wants to take calcium for reasons that has been proven, then take calcium with minerals like magnesium and boron and silicon. Take it with D3 and take with K2.
Can I ask small clarification?
I have one last question. Hello?
Yes, yes.
Sir? Ramana sir, you can ask your question.
Can I ask a small clarification in continuation of your calcium metabolism, Selvam? Just correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is if you take too much of calcium, which is a main problem in Western people, too much calcium circulating in the blood, which as you highlighted, draw the phosphate from the bone for neutralizing it.
Yeah.
That is one of the main reasons for osteoporosis.
Exactly.
So excess consumption of calcium. Because this is a rare phenomenon in India and other places. It's more of a Western disease. People break their hips.
Time time.
Ramana sir, உங்களுக்கு மியூட் ஆயிடுது. ஆடியோ மியூட் ஆயிடுது. கொஞ்சம் அன்மியூட் பண்ணிட்டு பேசுங்க. Ramana sir, உங்க ஆடியோ அன்மியூட் பண்ணிட்டு.
Okay, that's the same. புரிஞ்சது நான் சொன்னது கேட்டது புரிஞ்சல. The phosphate is drawn from the bone, which is one of the reason people get osteoporosis in the Western world because of excess circulating calcium in the blood.
That's correct, Ramanathan. Correct. But இப்போ நீங்க இந்தியாவை எடுத்துக்கிட்டா கூட nowadays because they are drinking so much of soy and so much of dairy products, they are enriching themselves with calcium. Now the shift towards westernized thoughts and westernized diet, it's not good for us.
Yeah. கீரைகள், nuts and seeds contains more than enough calcium. அத யானை எல்லாம் கீரை தானே சாப்பிடுது. அதோட bone வந்து எவ்வளவு ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருக்கு.
Exactly. That's the point.
Sir, the doctor said calcium highly circulating in the blood sucks out the phosphate from bone. I think it is the other way. Phosphate sucks out the calcium from the bones.
If the phosphate is excessive, because if you have too much of meat in your diet and if your body is acidic, you can have high phosphate. That is not good. But in normal circumstances, if you have too much calcium, then you can actually suffer osteoporosis because the source of calcium itself can cause make your body acidic. And so phosphate may come out of bone, just like magnesium and other minerals are removed from the bone to actually alkalize your blood, rather to correct the acidity, because the body's immediate need is what it is going to pay attention to. Long-term consequences it will put aside. So immediate attention is to correct acidity, it will pull it out.
Okay, doctor, one more question.
Doctor, I was talking about this magnesium. So what is the natural source of magnesium we get from food? From which source do we get magnesium? Or only supplementary?
Vegetables, green vegetables, nuts and seeds.
Okay. And one more, doctor, as is my understanding, you said the supplements, vitamin C or magnesium should be consumed along with the food. So what does it literally mean? Like in between the meals, I mean, while having the food, we should eat, or how is it that
the
part
better
alone
way to take supplements would be when you chew your food. Once you have chewed the food, before you swallow, you can put 1 or 2 tablets at a time and finish it. Okay. You are not supposed to take the food supplements at the end of the meal because you are going to end up taking it with water. Once you take water, you are going to dilute your stomach acid. and it disturbs the digestion.
Okay. So it has to be consumed before food.
Always better.
Just before food. Okay. Thank you so
No,
much.
no, with food.
With food. Okay. Yeah, I got it. Thank
okay, Valluvan. Okay, Mr. Prakash.
டாக்டர் ஜெகதீஷ் சந்திரா ஒரு கொஸ்டின் ட்ரை பண்றாங்க.
Okay.
டாக்டர் ஜெகதீஷ் நீங்க உங்க கேள்வி கேட்கலாம், இதோட முடிச்சுக்கலாம் உங்க கேள்வியோட.
No, I just wanted to congratulate Selvam for a very nice talk. And we always feel that in moderation anything is good. But as you rightly put it, it is, I think, the other way with vitamin C. Because you say in excess vitamin C does good, right? And it's a good eye-opener for all of us, right?
If you look
thank
at
you very much.
The man who actually made a lot of, created a lot of awareness is Linus Pauling, the only two-time Nobel Prize winner physician. But before that, of course, we had many other great souls who have actually used vitamin C in high doses. But he himself took about 12 to 14 grams a day, and he was well into his late 70s. So we all know that vitamin C, you don't have to take anything in excess until you get diarrhea, but in good doses, it saves millions of lives. And if this can be given to people during current pandemic, the world doesn't have to suffer. Thank you very much, boss. Thank you. Okay, எல்லாருக்கும் நமஸ்காரம்.
Thank you Dr. Selvam for your wonderful lecture. இது வந்து சாதாரண காமன் மேனுக்கு கூட ரொம்ப உபயோகமா இருந்தது. உங்களுக்கு ஆச்சு இன்னைக்கு லேட்டா தான் நீங்க தூங்க போறீங்க. ஆல்ரெடி உங்களுக்கு 10 ஆயிடுது. நீங்க கரெக்டா 10 மணிக்கு டாக்டர் செல்வம் டாக்டர் தூங்கிட்டு 5 மணிக்கு எழுந்திருக்கிறவங்க அவங்க லெக்சர்ல சொன்ன மாதிரி. ஸோ ஆனா நிறைய கேள்வி இருக்கு, நிறைய கேள்வி கேட்கறதுக்கு நிறைய பேருக்கு இன்ட்ரெஸ்டும் இருக்கு. மேபி யூ வில் ஹேவ் டு அரேஞ்ச் ஒன் மோர் செஷன் சம்டைம் டூரிங் ஆஃப்டர் 1 or 2 months.
ஆக்சுவலி நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஒரே ஒரு இது சொல்றேன், இது இந்த மாதிரி ஷேர் பண்ணி எல்லாத்துக்கும் உதவி செய்யறது இது வந்து தர்மம். இது வந்து நம்ம வந்து பணம் சம்பாதிக்கிறதுக்கு எதுக்கும் செய்யல. ஆனா வந்து இது என்னோட ஒரே ஒரு வேண்டுகோள் என்னன்னா, இது வந்து இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் நிறைய பேருக்கு போய் சேர்ந்துச்சுன்னா நல்லது. ஸோ நம்பர் ஆஃப் பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் பாத்தீங்களா, தமிழ்நாட்டில் இருக்கிற பாப்புலேஷனுக்கு நீங்க வந்து இப்போ வந்து 320% இன்க்ரீஸ் இன் கேன்சர்னு சொன்னீங்களா?
ஆமா.
But I wish more people can participate. Not my webinars. You know, Ravi Kumar does, Ramanath. A lot of people are nowadays creating awareness for better health. So I hope that it reaches out to more people and more people participate. But some prefer to be sick first before they join.
டாக்டர் பட் எல்லாமே இந்த நல்லது எல்லாமே சுமாரா தான் ஆரம்பிக்கும், சின்னதா தான் ஆரம்பிக்கும் நல்ல விஷயங்கள்லாம்.
Okay.
So ரொம்ப தேங்க்ஸ் டாக்டர். In fact, this is the 5th webinar we are conducting. Series of webinar. After a gap of a month, then again we will start. The corona period we started this. So under the
Ravi Kumar conclusion, Ravi Kumar conclusion remarks kodu solunga.
Ravi. Under the leadership of Dr. Ravi Kumar and Dr. Valluvan, இந்த சீரீஸ்ல டாக்டர் விருதகிரி இந்த லெக்சர் கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. டாக்டர் ஜெகதீசனும் ஜாயின் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. டாக்டர் குலாம் மொய்தீன், டாக்டர் ராம்நாதன், இந்த செஷன்ல டாக்டர் செல்வம், இவங்க எல்லாருக்கும் பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட் சார்பாக என்னுடைய நன்றியை தெரிவிச்சுக்கிறேன். கன்க்ளூசிவ் செஷன் ஓவர் டு டாக்டர் ரவிக்குமார்.
Thank you.
Ravi, please.
டாக்டர் ரவிக்கும் ஐ திங்க் இது கனெக்டிவிட்டி ப்ராப்ளம் நினைக்கிறேன். டாக்டர் ரவிக்குமார்
வெயிட் பண்ணுங்க. இது இருக்காரு மைக் வந்து
ஆமா
மைக் வந்து மியூட் ஆயிருக்கு.
Dr. Ravi Kumar, please unmute yourself. You are invited for the conclusive session.
மொபைல் ரிங் அடிக்குது, ஆனா எடுக்க மாட்டேங்கிறா.
சரி அப்ப ஓகே.
ரிங் அடிக்குது, ஆனா எடுக்கல.
தம்பி
நீங்களே முடிச்சுங்க பிரகாஷ்.
ஓகே.
So
நீங்களே
thank you very much all of you. Then we will again schedule a series of webinar like this. Many people felt this is a very wonderful sessions, whatever is going on in the last 5 sessions. Only thing is, as Dr. Selvam said, for the effort we put in, we need to bring in more people so that it reaches more people. I hope that in the down the line, when we arrange a next series of webinar, more people will be joining. Thank you all very much. Now, you can end the meeting on your own. You can quit the leave the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Good.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Olu. Prakasam. Bye bye. Bye bye.
டாக்டர் செல்வம் நன்றி நன்றி நன்றி.
நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
Thank you. Thank you.
நமஸ்காரம்.
Thank you, Selvam. Thank you, Elvan. Hello, Ramnavan.
Thank you
all.
Thank you.
Thank you, uncle.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctors.
Thank you,
doctors.
Thank you.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good night,
Prakasam.
Selvam.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor.
Yeah.
If you want to leave, okay. Whoever does not know, if you go to the right side, lower end of the right side, there will be leave. You can leave. Whoever does not know.
ஒரு லீவ் லெட்டர் அனுப்பி வைக்க சொல்லுங்க.
பாலாஜி என்றும் இளமை கடைசியா வரைக்கும் இருப்பாங்க. பாலாஜி நீங்க இருங்க. ஐயா இருக்க போறாங்க. நம்ம ஐயாவோட ஒரு நிமிஷம் பேசலாம். கேட்டா திரும்ப வாங்க, மீட்டிங் ஓபனா தான் இருக்கு. இல்ல நீங்க தான் இருக்கீங்களா?
பேசுறாரு வல்லுவன் காடு.
டாக்டர் வந்து மலேசியால இருந்து எக்ஸலன்ட் பிரசன்டேஷன் முன்போச்சு இல்ல இவர் இல்ல முன்போச்சு
டாக்டர் ரவிக்குமார் இன்
தூங்க போயிட்டாரு மலேசியா.
இல்ல ரவிக்குமார் வந்துருவாங்க, திரும்ப வருவாங்க.
இன்னைக்கெல்லாம் படுத்துருவாங்க. ரொம்ப டிசிப்ளின். இல்ல அது ரொம்ப பிரமாதம்.
ரவிக்குமார் காய்கறி வெட்ட போயிருப்பாரு.
வந்துருவாங்க.
தம்பி சார் இருக்க சொல்லுங்க தம்பி.
சார் இருக்காங்க. சார் நீங்க மீட்டிங்ல இருங்க சார்.
முடியுது
அண்ணா நீங்க அட்மிட் பண்ணிக்கங்க. வல்லுவன் அண்ணா அட்மிட் பண்ணிங்க. பாலாஜி ரவிக்குமார் வந்துடுறாங்க. சார் இருக்காங்க. விருதகிரி சார் இருக்காங்க.
5 மணிக்கு ஆரம்பிச்சது. 5 மணிக்கு நான் உட்கார்ந்தேன்.
சார் சாப்பிட்டு நீங்க சாப்பிட்டு வாங்க சார். நாங்க வெயிட் பண்றோம். சாப்பாடு ரெடியா இருக்கா சார்?
இதுதான் பிரகாசம். இவர் தான் ஏற்பாடு பண்றாரு. இது
சார் இப்ப நம்ம வந்து சார் நீங்க இருக்கீங்க. வல்லுவன் டாக்டர் ரவிக்குமார், சகாதேவன் சார், பாலாஜி கந்தசாமி இருக்கார் சார். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பேட்ச் பாலாஜி கந்தசாமி அதான் உங்களுக்கு தெரியுமா? அவர் இருக்கார் சார். நாங்க 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 பேர் இருக்கோம் சார்.
தெரியல 2 பேர்ல நம்ம
வல்லுவனா நீங்களும் அட்மிட் பண்ணிக்கலாம் சார். சகாதேவன் சார் நீங்களும் அட்மிட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். ரவிக்குமார் அண்ணா மட்டும் கூப்பிடணும்.
Prahasam, you are doing a wonderful job.
only assistants தான். டைரக்டர் வந்து டாக்டர் வல்லுவன். வல்லுவன்.
Yeah, Valluvanu, Dr. Valluvanu நல்லா பண்றீங்க. Really good. You are taking good effort to do all this. I really appreciate all of this.
எல்லாம் தலைமை டைரக்டர் வந்து பேக்ரவுண்ட்ல இருக்கிறது வல்லுவன். நான் முன்னாடி வர மாட்டாங்க. எல்லாமே every inch is directed by டாக்டர் வல்லுவன்.
நீங்க பேசுறது ரொம்ப நல்லா கேட்கல. கொஞ்சம் ஆடியோ ஆப்.
வால்யூம்
வச்சுக்கணும். அந்த மைக் வாயில வச்சுக்கிட்டா கேட்கும். இப்ப கேக்குறதா?
ரொம்ப தேங்க்ஸ்ங்க. நீங்க பண்றது வண்டர்ஃபுல் ஜாப்.
பிரகாஷ், நாங்க இதுக்கு வரதுக்காக காலையில 6 மணிக்கு அலாரம் வச்சு எந்திரிச்சோம்.
ரைட் உங்களுக்கு வீடியோ காத்தல. உங்களை எவ்வளவு வெரைட்டி கண்டுபிடிச்சேன்னு தெரியுமா? அந்த சந்திரசேகரன் மதுரையில இருக்கார், செகண்ட் பேட்ச். சந்திரசேகரன் சொல்லிட்டு அவர் தெரியாதனமா சொல்லிட்டாரு உங்க ஊருக்கு பக்கத்து ஊருன்னு சொல்லிட்டு உங்க ஃபேமிலில காலேஜ் வச்சிருந்தாங்கன்னு சொல்லிட்டு. அதுக்கப்புறம் அவர் அரிச்சு அப்புறம் யாரோ உங்க ஃபேமிலி உங்க சித்தப்பா இருக்காருன்னு பிடிச்சி அப்புறம் அப்படி எல்லாம் பிடிச்சி உங்களை பிடிச்சோம் கண்டுபிடிச்சோம் லிஸ்ட் போட்டு கொரோனா பீரியட்
கண்டுபிடிச்சல. You took a lot of effort. He's enjoying your team.
ஆமா.
It's relaxing for him.
ஆமா. For everybody is அந்த மாதிரி தான் மேடம். ஒவ்வொரு எவ்ரி பிஎம்எஸ் ஃபேமிலில அதுதான். நிறைய பேர் எங்க ஹஸ்பண்ட் நான் லைஃப்ல இவ்வளவு சந்தோஷமா பார்த்ததே இல்ல. நாங்க இந்த குரூப்ல உள்ளார
அதான் சொல்றேன். Like a little kid.
ஆமா.
He looks forward to talking to you guys. You don't have to call me madam, you can call me VG. That's fine.
வள்ளுவர் என்ன சீரியஸா நோ பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காரு.
ரவிக்குமார் ஒருத்தர் சந்தேகம் கேட்டாரு, அதுக்கெல்லாம் யாருக்கு ஒரு அனுப்புறேன் மெசேஜ்.
ரவிக்குமார் கூப்பிடுங்கண்ணா. ரவிக்குமார் கூப்பிடுங்க. சாரு போயாச்சு. சாரு பக்கம் போயிட்டாங்க. அப்ப அது கட்டியும்
போயிட்டாரு.
சாரு வர சொல்லுங்க. சாப்பிட போயிருப்பாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன்.
சரி. இது அந்த டாக்டரோட இமெயில இதை நீங்க வந்து கொஞ்சம் கேர்ஃபுல்லா அனுப்பணும். We could not flood him with lots of things. He is a very nice guy.
ஆமா ஆமா. சிஸ்டர் பேசிப்பா.
అది వస్తుంది.
சகாதேவன், நீங்க எந்த ஊர்ல இருக்கீங்க?
பாலாஜி, யூ கேன் அன்மியூட். எல்லாருமே அன்மியூட் பண்ணிக்கலாமே.
நான் சீக்ரெட்
நாம 4 பேர், நாம 5 பேர் தான் இருக்கிறோம். அன்மியூட் பண்ணீங்க எல்லாருமே. அவங்க
சகாதேவன் அன்மியூட் பண்ணல.
பிரகாசம் அன்மியூட் பண்ணல. அவங்க லில்லி சகாதேவன், அவங்க சார் வந்து மெட்ராஸ் யூனிவர்சிட்டியில இருக்காங்க.
ஓகே ஓகே.
அவர் சன்னில்லா, நம்ம டாக்டர் ஏபிஎஸோட சன்னில்லா அவர்.
ஓகே ஓகே.
அவங்க வந்து திருவள்ளுவர் பல்கலைக்கழகத்துல செனட்டா இருக்காரு. ரவி வந்துட்டாச்சு. ரவி திடீர்னு காணாம போயிட்டீங்க, எல்லாம் தேடுறாங்க.
நம்ம கிளாஸ்மேட் லியோ சகாய் மாதிரி இருக்காங்க இல்லையா?
ஓகே.
அவங்க வீட்ல இருந்தா, அதனால
சரி.
They had some visitors. I had to go meet the granddaughter. அந்த மாதிரி போயிட்டு.
இல்ல, கன்க்ளூசிவ் ரிமார்க்ஸ் உங்களுக்கு கூப்பிடுறாங்க, தேடணும் எல்லாரும். நீங்க அப்புறம் இல்ல.
Very sorry. No, I பிரகாசத்துக்கு ஒரு மெசேஜ் கொடுத்துருந்தேன்னா.
சரிங்க சரிங்க, நோ ப்ராப்ளம். இப்போ சார் இருக்காரு, நாம தான் இருக்கிறோம். நீங்க, நானு, பாலாஜி அண்ட் சார் சாப்பிட போயிருக்காங்களாட்டு இருக்கு.
ரைட்டு.
ஒரு 10 நிமிஷம் சாருக்காக வெயிட் பண்ணுவோம். சார் ஏதோ கேட்கணும்னாங்க, அவங்களுக்கு கொஞ்சம் கிளாரிஃபை பண்ணிக்கலான்றதுக்காக.
ஓகே ஓகே.
பிரகாசம் அன்மியூட் பண்ணீங்க.
நம்ம பிரின்சிபலுக்கும் இதுக்கும் கொஞ்சம் டிஃபரன்ஸ் என்னன்னா, அந்த டயட்ரி சப்ளிமெண்ட்ஸ் தான் we don't very much believe in it.
ஆமா.
பட் இருந்தாலும் as long as it's not that harmful, it may be okay. But I don't know. I have to read more about it to say conclusively.
Okay.
நான் அந்த சைடுல நான் வந்து ரொம்ப கான்சென்ட்ரேட்டே பண்ணது கிடையாது.
சரி. பட் எனிவே ஒரு டிஸ்கஷன் வந்து ஹெல்த்தி டிஸ்கஷன் வரும்போது தான் அதுக்கு வந்து ஒரு கிளாரிட்டி கிடைக்கும்.
ஆமா ஆமா.
இன்னைக்கு நிறைய நம்ம கிளாஸ்மேட்ஸ் நிறைய பேர், டாக்டர்ஸ் நிறைய பேர், இட்ஸ் நாளுக்கு நாள் வந்து அவர் குரூப் வந்து எக்ஸ்பேண்ட் ஆகிட்டே இருக்கு, இன்ட்ராக்ஷன்ஸ் அதிகமாக போயிட்டே இருக்குன்னு முடியல, நிறைய கொஸ்டின்ஸ் வெயிட்டிங்.
ஓகே.
நம்மளுடைய எய்மை வந்து நம்ம ரீச் ஆயிட்டோம், நம்மளுடைய இலக்குல வந்து தொடர்ந்து பயணிக்கிறோம், வெற்றி பெறுவோம்.
Message is more or less very similar to what we said.
Yes.
Overall theme வந்து very similar. அவர் எந்த scientific studyயும் கோட் பண்ணலனாலும் it's mostly in line with the evidence, scientific evidence ஓட தான் இருக்கு.
And we are sharing all the information with our friends. They are trying to follow too, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, for you two guys, it's very important to reverse your disease process as well.
Yes. We are working towards it.
அண்ணா ஐயாக்கு டயர்டா இருக்குன்னு க்யூட் பண்ணிட்டாங்களா மீட்டிங், ரொம்ப நேரமா உட்கார்ந்திருக்கு அப்படின்ட்டு.
ஆமாங்க, இட்ஸ் வெரி லாங் டைம்.
ஆமா, மேபி நம்ம நெக்ஸ்ட் நம்ம இன்டிவிஜுவலா ஒரு மீட்டிங் போட்டுக்கலாம், ஒரு 40 மினிட்ஸ்.
இல்ல ரவி, ஒரு ரிக்வெஸ்ட் ரவி, நீங்களே வந்து ஓய்வா உங்களுக்கு கன்வீனியன்ட் டைம் சாருக்கு பேசிட்டு அவருடைய சந்தேகங்களை பூரா கிளியர் பண்ணுங்க ரவி.
உங்ககிட்ட பேசணும்னு சொன்னாங்க, நீங்க நேரடியா ஐயாட்ட பேசுறீங்க.
பேசுறேங்க.
பேசிட்டா இருக்கோம். அப்புறம் நம்ம இருக்கோம், இப்ப 4 பேர் பேசணும்னா பேசலாம். லில்லி சிஸ்டர் இருக்காங்க லைன்ல.
ஹலோ சிஸ்டர்.
Thank you Dr. Ravi for all your valuable information.
Thank you. உங்களுக்கு எப்படி யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருந்தது இன்னைக்கு மீட்டிங்?
Definitely very useful. என்ன சாப்பிடலாம் போலாம் எல்லாம்.
Messages very similar. அவ்வளவுதான்.
ஆமா, நம்ம ஏற்கனவே நிறைய பேசுனது அதேதான். எக்ஸெப்ட் விட்டமின் சி அண்ட் மெக்னீசியம், இந்த 2 பாயிண்ட் டேக் ஹோம் பாயிண்ட்.
அடிஷன் தானே, நிறைய விஷயங்கள் ஆட் ஆகும்போது நமக்கு நல்லதுதான்.
ஆமா.
இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் எவ்வளவு
நீங்க கூட ஐக்கு ஏதாவது ஒரு இது போடுங்க.
உங்களுக்கு என்ன சந்தேகம்னு கேளுங்க, நான் தனியா உங்கள்கிட்ட பேசுறேன். என்ன காரணம்னா இப்ப நம்ம வந்து இப்ப டாக்டர் ரவிக்குமார் முன்னிலைப்படுத்தி நம்ம கேன்சர் செய்யறோம் இல்லைங்களா, கேன்சருக்கு செய்யறோம் இல்லையா, கேன்சர் ப்ரிவென்ஷன் மூவ்மெண்ட் பண்ணாவே உயிர் இருந்தாதான் உடம்பு இருந்தாதான் உறுப்புகள். நீங்க உயிரை காப்பாத்திட்டீங்கன்னா எல்லாத்தையும் காப்பாத்திடலாம். இன்னும் சுருக்கமா சொன்னா, ரவியோட பிரின்சிபலை ஃபாலோ பண்ணா கண்ணும் நல்லா இருக்கும். நான் கடைசியில கண்ணு வைத்தியம் பண்ண சொல்லனாக்க ரவிக்குமாரோட சைனா ஸ்டடியை படி ஃபாலோ பண்ணுங்க, கண்ணு நல்லா இருக்கும், கண்ணே நலமான்னு சொல்லுவாங்க ஒரே வார்த்தையில.
ஆப்தல்மாலஜி ஸ்பெஷலிஸ்ட் அதுல.
ஏன்னா என் கண்ணே இப்ப நல்லா தெரியுது. முடியலாம் இல்ல, தலை முடியெல்லாம் வளர்ந்துருக்கு பாருங்க, தலை முடியெல்லாம் கருப்பா இருக்கு, எவ்வளவு அழகா இருக்கும் பாருங்க. இது வந்து டை அடிக்காம ஒரு வருஷத்துல. நான் டை எப்போ அடிச்சு இல்ல,
எனக்கே கொஞ்சம் முடி ரீக்ரோத் ஆயிருக்கு.
யா, உண்மை இதெல்லாம் உண்மை சிஸ்டர். அதாவது எனக்கு வந்து தோல் உறிஞ்சுது 3 மாசத்துல, இந்த வயசான காலத்துல தோல் உறிஞ்சுது, எனக்கு ஆச்சரியமா இருந்தது. அதே மாதிரி எனக்கு உட்கார்ற இடத்துல ஒரு தடிச்ச மாதிரி இருக்கும், அந்த காப்பு காய்ச்சி போகுதுன்னு சொல்லுவோம் கிராமத்துல. எனக்கு ஒரு 5-6 வருஷமா இருந்தது, அது சுத்தமா மறைஞ்சே போச்சு. இப்ப அவ்வளவு ஸ்கின்ல நான் பளபளன்னு அழகாயிட்டேன், வேற எல்லாரும் சொல்றாங்க கலர் ஆயிட்டேன்.
Dr. Ravi, what do you eat for breakfast? What do you eat for breakfast?
அவர் பட்னி.
என்ன கேக்குறீங்களா?
ஆமா, நீங்க என்ன ரெக்கமெண்ட் பண்றீங்க breakfast?
I don't have any breakfast or lunch. Last 12 years. And after that, mostly uncooked raw vegetable plus cooked vegetable.
Yeah, we are trying that too, but mostly we are adding cooked vegetable more than raw vegetable. So I should change that to more raw vegetable and cooked vegetable less.
Yeah, because raw vegetables are more nutritious, less free radicals. Cooking process we are creating free radicals.
Hey, Ravi,
no doubt.
இந்த கோவிட்ல வந்து கேப்டிவேட்டட், சோ அதனால இந்த அம்மா என்ன கொடுக்குதோ அதான் நான் சாப்பிட்டேன். பூரா வெஜிடபிள்.
Super, super. 3 months la you will see the difference with your health improvement. Definitely.
Yeah, I see a difference already. With magnesium, my cramps completely went away. So that's a big change.
So what I think the difference between China study and today's lecture, China study recommends everything from eating vegetables or non-vegetarian stuff, but this one is supplements. This supplements may reach you faster than the vegetables. Vegetables take more time and more vegetables. Right? That's what I am thinking. I am not a doctor though.
இல்ல பாலாஜி, அதாவது சப்ளிமெண்ட்ஸ் வந்து then there is an absolute indication நீங்க போலாம்.
Okay.
நீங்க whole food plant based ரெகுலரா எடுத்துக்கிட்டு இருந்தீங்கனாவே that will not require supplements. That is a message.
Oh, got it. Okay.
If you have any specific disease related to supplement, you can go for supplements. But long-term benefits, whole food, plant-based. That is a chronic. That is the only treatment.
That is better than taking supplements. சில supplements may even be harmful. அப்படிங்கறத அந்த China studyல நோட் பண்ணிருக்காங்க.
Yeah. So I cannot thank Pragasham and Valluvan enough to find me.
பாலாஜி, நான் ஒரு அட்வைஸ் சொல்லட்டுமா?
சொல்லுங்க.
என் பிளேட்ஸ் எல்லாம் உங்களுக்கு அனுப்புறேன். 125 பிளேட்ஸ் சொன்னா அனுப்புறேன். I can send. தக்காளி இருந்தனா காலை டிஃபன் அர்த்தம். வெங்காயம் இருந்தனா மதியானம் இருக்குன்னு அர்த்தம். இதான் அடையாளம். தக்காளி இருந்தனா மார்னிங் டிஃபன், வெங்காயம் இருந்தனா மதியானம் ஃபுட்னு அர்த்தம். நான் ஒரு வருஷத்துல நான் அடைந்த பயன்கள் ஏராளம் ஏராளம் ஏராளம்.
ஓகே, थैंक यू. அத அனுப்பிட்டீங்கனாக்க என் வைஃப் நம்ம சீரிஸை ஃபாலோ பண்ணுவாங்க.
ரொம்ப சிம்பிள்.
நான் தான் ஃபாலோ பண்ணுவேன், அவர் ஃபாலோ பண்ண மாட்டாராம்.
இன்னொரு அட்வான்டேஜ் இருக்கு பாலாஜி. இன்னொரு அட்வான்டேஜ் இருக்கு. மார்னிங்ல வந்து நீங்க நான் சொல்றதை சாப்பிட்டீங்கன்னா சமைக்க வேண்டியதில்லை, ஸ்ட்ரெஸ் கிடையாது. மார்னிங்ல நோ ஆயில் நோ பாயில், எல்லாம் குழந்தைங்கள இருந்து எல்லாம். இன்னொன்னு சொல்றேன் ரகசியம், ஹீமோகுளோபின் நல்லா இம்ப்ரூவ் ஆயிடும். ஏன்னா நீங்க ஃப்ரூட்ஸ் வெஜிடபிள்ஸ் எடுத்துக்கும் போது, காய்கறிகள் எடுத்துக்கும் போது எல்லா சப்ளிமெண்ட்ஸும் வேண்டியதே இல்லை. இயற்கையா கிடைக்கிறத சாப்பிடும் போது சப்ளிமெண்ட்ஸ் தேவையில்லை. பட் ஆனா நீங்க வந்து இந்த சொல்லணும் ஆத்துல ஒரு கால் சேத்துல ஒரு கால்ங்கிற மாதிரி கூடாது. கண்ணை மூடிட்டு ரவிக்குமாரை ஃபாலோ பண்ணுங்க. ஹீ இஸ் அவர் குரு. யூ வில் பி 100% சேஃப் ஆயிடுவீங்க. நாங்கெல்லாம் சின்சியர், நாங்கெல்லாம் ஒரு சின்சியர் டிசிபிள்ஸ்.
ஓகே, நாங்களும் அப்படி ஆயிட்டோம் இப்ப.
வெல் டன், வெல் டன்.
Getting there.
ஸ்டேட்ஸ்ல நீங்களே கூட ஆர்கானிக் வெஜிடபிள்ஸ் எல்லாம் grow பண்ணலாம். நம்ம ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் நிறைய பேர் இந்த கார்டன் பெருசா இருக்காங்க. you can grow lots of vegetables very easy.
I don't have a green thumb. I kill everything.
So இங்க வந்து ரெண்டு ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்கு. ப்ராப்ளம் என்னன்னாக்கா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து ஸ்னோவும் ஐஸும். அடுத்த மாசத்துல இருந்து ஸ்னோ ஐஸ் வந்துச்சுனாக்க மார்ச் வரைக்கும் இருக்கும். செப்டம்பர் டு அக்டோபர் டு மார்ச்.
சிகாகோல உங்களுக்கு கோல்ட் தான். பட் சம்மர் நல்லா இருக்கும்.
நாங்க ட்ரை பண்ணோம் அந்த மாதிரி. ராபிட்டும் ஈவன் டியரும் வந்து சாப்பிட்டு போயிடுச்சு.
ஓகே ஓகே ஓகே.
Thanks.
We try to buy organic food as much as possible.
Okay. Okay. Okay, everyone, shall we conclude? It's been a very successful series of meetings. Thank you and Pragasham for organizing it. So you've done a fantastic job.
கொஞ்சம் கேப் கொடுப்போம். ஒரு 3 months கிட்டத்தட்ட கேப் கொடுத்து ரிவ்யூ பண்ணுவோம். எல்லாரும் யார் யாரெல்லாம் சரியா இருக்காங்கன்னு பார்ப்போம். நெக்ஸ்ட் மீட்டிங் என்ட்ரில 21 BMI இருந்தாதான் என்ட்ரி, இல்லைன்னா நோ என்ட்ரி.
That's too much. When I have to just only look at the food, I cannot eat anything.
என்ன ரவி, மினிமம் பேசிக் குவாலிஃபிகேஷன் மாதிரி பேசிக் குவாலிஃபிகேஷன் என்ன, யாரெல்லாம் 21 இருக்காங்களோ அவங்க தான் வரலாம். அதுக்கு மேல இருக்கணும்னா இங்க வராதீங்கன்னு சொல்லலாம்.
அப்படிலாம் சொன்னா எங்களால பார்க்கவே முடியாது.
Okay, everyone.
So thank you. Valluvan, only one question. நீங்க மாலாவுக்கு ஷேர் பண்ணீங்களா எல்லாத்தையும்? மாலாவுக்கு எல்லாத்தையும் ஷேர் பண்ணீங்களா உங்க டாக்டருக்கு?
எஸ் 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 எல்லாம் அவங்கள மாறிட்டு வராங்களே. என் சன்னில வந்து பாலை விட்டாரு 1 மாசமா. எல்லாமே எல்லாத்துக்கும் மெசேஜ் போயிட்டு தான் இருக்கு.
நாங்களும் பாலை விட்டுட்டு ஆல்மண்ட் மில்க் போலாமான்னு இருக்கோம்.
இல்ல, பாலை விட்டா பாதி வியாதி குறைஞ்சிரும். பாலை விட்டா பாதி வியாதி குறைஞ்சிரும். இந்த எழுதிங்க, இந்த இது வந்து பழமொழி. பாலை விட்டால் பாதி வியாதி குறைஞ்சிரும். மீதிலாம்
வள்ளுவமொழி.
Thanks for all your efforts, guys.
ரவிக்குமார், ஒன் மோர் கொஸ்டின். லாஸ்ட் டைம் ராமநாதன் சொன்னாரு 60ல வந்து அங்க யூகேல வந்து ரிட்டையர்மெண்ட்னு. நீங்க வந்து யூ ஆர் ஸ்டில் இன் வொர்க்?
We can work up to 74.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
He decided to retire. அவ்வளவுதான். It is
VR கொடுத்துட்டாரு. அப்படிதான். Voluntary retirement.
I intend to work at least for another 4 or 5 years. அதுக்கப்புறம் இந்தியால போயிட்டு I've bought a farmland, organic farm convert பண்ணி I'm going to create health resort.
Oh, very good, very good.
அதுக்காக வாங்கியிருக்கேன். So I want to retire there. நீங்க அங்க வந்து உங்க 20 கீழே கொண்டு போயிடலாம்.
Okay.
Thanks for all your time.
Thank you. All the best.
குடுக்கறதா சாப்பிடணும்.
ஆமா.
காலையில எழுந்த உடனே கொத்தணும். கொல்லைய கொத்தணும். அப்பதான் சாப்பாடு. வேலைக்கு உணவு திட்ட மாதிரி வச்சிரும். வேலைக்கு உணவு திட்ட மாதிரி வச்சிரும். முடியாதவங்க களை வெட்டினா போதும். லேடிஸ்க்கெல்லாம் களை வெட்டுறது ஈஸியா.
சொல்லிடாதீங்க. அதெல்லாம் கொடுத்துக்கலாம். இப்ப சொன்னா வர மாட்டாங்க.
Okay.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
மகிழ்ச்சி ரவி.
All the best.
மகிழ்ச்சி ரவி. பாலாஜி மகிழ்ச்சி. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.